Hey everybody, it's Squid. Welcome back to the channel. Everyone's not so favorite aviation enthusiast and former naval aviation somewhat expert, but it's been a long time. Hope everybody is doing well today. We have an interesting thing today. So we've been talking about on this channel every Wednesday. We do a Wednesdays with Spawn. We talk about all things aviation, get into some of the nitty gritty NTSB reports. Well, today started the NTSB hearings on the case that initially got us started on this rabbit hole. The DC plane crash, when the collision between the Army Blackhawk and the CRJ carrying a bunch of figure skaters, and me being a former naval aviation, that side interests me, and me being a former figure skater, that side also was kind of personal to me. So we are going to get into this. This is 3 days worth of hearings starting this morning, going 12 hours a day. We are obviously not going to do the entire thing today. Everybody knows that when I do these things, and if you don't know, if you're new to the channel, I'm going to do this like I do a trial. We skip breaks. We go at 1.25 speed. We skip the bullshit, sidebars, anything like that. And also, we are not going to do all 12 hours today. This 3 days will be broken up over the course of quite a few weeks. But I believe that I'm grateful that these are made public. Documents are public, and I believe I'm very grateful that none of this is behind closed doors. So we can hear these interviews, we can see what is actually going on, and there are no secrets. I am all for accountability, holding people accountable for what they do and say. And when you have a job as important as the NTSB, you better be transparent with your job. And if the pilots, and if it was pilot error, I would appreciate to know that and not be held, not have 67 lives be held hostage to the fact that the Army doesn't want to look bad. So we will get this started right away. But first, Ung Hero, thank you for the 10 Squid Pro memberships. I always appreciate you. And for the $2 super chat, don't mind me just turning the chat green. You are always appreciated. You know that, buddy. This channel would be completely different without you and your support. I am so grateful. And hey, living life with FND, how are you doing today? Flash fan is probably either modding for somebody else and or sleeping and or eating. All three could be a possibility. Jeffrey, hello, listening today, can't chat. Well, we're glad you're listening. I appreciate you as always. Kim, how are you? Yvonne, She Nemesis, hello, and 3 Awesome Dogs, how are you? And if you haven't subscribed to 3 Awesome Dogs, go ahead and do it. He is inching ever closer to 1,000 subscribers. Sneaking up there ever so slightly. We can get him over 1,000. Come on, you guys can do this. I know you can. And Ida, 1776, hiya Squid, 3 Awesome Dogs on Living Life, Jeffrey, and chat. Oh, we're turning chat green. Hello from your sunny garden. It is not so sunny here. It kind of is, but it's gross. All right, we are going to share this. We are going to start from the beginning, but I have it on 1.25 speed, and depending on how fast or slow they talk, we will definitely change the way we listen, because we don't listen to anything at regular speed because people talk slow. And let's get into where they actually start talking, because Lord knows And I'm sorry, this is not better prepped. I had a bunch of stuff to do this morning, and I had a really bad headache. So I had to make sure my migraine medication took over and actually allowed me to do this before I started prepping for this stream.
Members, Member Michael Graham, Member Tom Chapman, and Member Todd Inman. Before I begin, I want to yield a little bit of time to Member Chapman.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly, Chair. With regret, I'm going to excuse myself from this morning's session and for the remainder of the investigative hearing. Before doing so, I want to explain why I will not be participating in the hearing nor any of the proceedings related to this investigation going forward. As I have formally disclosed in various public financial disclosure filings, my family and I continue to receive flight privileges from American Airlines pursuant to an executive change in control and severance benefit agreement. That is an arrangement which dates to a circumstance and time much earlier in my professional career. American Airlines is not a formal party to the investigation. However, I am recusing myself from further participation in light of the business and corporate relationship between American Airlines and PSA Airlines, which is a party, of course.
It sounds like he retired and he has retiree flight benefits, is what it sounds like. Because that's what my mom gets on a certain airline. She can fly for free on a certain airline as a retiree from that airline. So I appreciate the fact that he's not putting that out there, or he's putting it out there and like excusing himself. I can always appreciate when someone has the wherewithal to know that there might be a conflict of interest, even if there's not a direct conflict of interest. Optics, we all know optics are everything. Like, you don't have to do anything wrong to make it appear like you did something wrong. And this is not the time when you want something to look bad. And this is what I wish more people would do. And obviously we're watching this on the Hill, so I am going to be stopping it quite frequently. One, to give my opinion. And secondly, I don't ever want to be copyright struck. I am going to, I chose the Hill because the Hill seems to be more level-headed about things than like the AP. The AP likes to copyright strike people, even when they are commenting and making it their own. We're not just going to sit here and stream it. You're going to be getting my input. I suggest to those of you in the chat or in the comment section who always tell me because there's always one, why do you comment? One, because that's what this is. It's a commentary channel at the end of the day. If you want to watch it without commentary, you are free to go to the Hill. You are free to go to a number of YouTube channels who are streaming it without commentary. Just like Trials, you can stream it without the commentary. However, if I don't comment on it, that is not, that is a copyright strike in the making. And I am not that kind of person. Like, I must use it and make it my own for fair use. If I just let it play, that is not fair use. And that is not how I operate my channel, by being a jerk. Because I hate when people just do that to me. When they just let my shit play and make it and try to make it their own. And I just don't like when people do that to me. So I don't do that to other people, especially when I have this stream monetized. And I would like to keep it that way.
I commend our team and all of you participating in the hearing for your contribution. I am following the investigation closely and will be observing the hearing by video from my office here in the building. A thorough determination and examination of the facts is owed to those who lost their lives in this terrible tragedy and to their loved ones who are grieving the unimaginable loss. I know that some of those folks are here today and will be with us throughout the next few days. Our hearts go out to you. I'm confident the lessons learned from this investigation will help ensure such a tragedy can never be repeated.
And remember, most of those, well, a bunch of those people on that flight were children and their parents. So there are people who lost complete families. And we comment on things that could go wrong. We make jokes or things to make light of a situation. But at the end of the day, 67 people did lose their lives. Many of them children. and a lot of coaches with children. So lots of families were affected by this. And I know that when Spawn comes on my channel, and I did send him a link, when he shows up, I told him pop in whenever he's available. Because we don't do this for another 3 hours. So we always try to be mindful that as much as we might joke or criticize certain people and certain aspects of things, we don't forget that there is a significant loss of life, including many children. And when the next time I add mods every so often when my channel grows. And when I add mods, and sometimes like I'll take mods away. And if you ever come in and you don't have a wrench anymore, don't take it personally. There's a few times that it's personal, but generally if it's personal, that person is either asked or they know that I'm taking away their wrench. But if you ever come in and you have a wrench, if your wrench is gone, don't take it personally. Sometimes I go through my list and it's like I haven't seen someone in like 6 months or more. Then I just cycle through. However, next time I look for more, or next time I add more, I will add you. And usually I add other creators because just to make sure that, they're not, nobody takes them, like tries to impersonate them. So, Ungung Hero, you got a wrench because you're an OG. And coming to the stage, Spawn Trooper, harbinger of truth, fact, and sort of forgets about feelings sometimes.
Oh, screw those feelings.
See, in order to hurt my feelings, I actually have to have them, and I forget that I have them sometimes. All right, so we had just started with this. This guy was explaining why he was recusing himself from the investigation. So, I don't know, it's me. How are you? Squid, how come people are not smashing the like button? I don't know. I have no idea. Smash the like button. Hit the like button just once.
Unhung Hero. Fucking love you too. Here goes the neighborhood. What do you mean, neighborhood? There never was a neighborhood. W.
Uh-oh, there goes the neighborhood. Yep, speaking of Spawn Trooper, he's here in person. Like I said, I threw him a link, and I said, hey, I'm starting early because this is such a long days. Come in when you can. It's not you have to be here at a certain time because we stream together on Wednesdays. And if you're not here, you're going to hurt my feelings. No, it's whenever you get here, you get here. And if you can't,
I'm sorry. Let me just go and check the bag of give a shit. So I wonder if I've still got any. Hang on a minute. So let me check. Oh, yeah,
I never had any to start with. My give a damn has been broken since 1999.
Wait, what?
Said my give a damn has been broken since 1999.
Yeah, I'm still looking for a good sort of like good give a damn setup, but yeah, I'm still struggling.
My give a damn. All right, we're gonna get back into this because it's a long day. These things go from, I want to say 9:30 in the morning to 8 p.m. So we are obviously not doing this all in one sitting. Nobody got the patience for that.
Chair, that concludes my remarks, and my thanks again for the opportunity to explain my situation.
Thank you, Member Chapman. And for those in the audience who may not be familiar, that's pretty standard. We all have different recusals that we come on board with. And so I appreciate that, Member Chapman, and we'll see you later. Member Graham, Member Inman, and I will comprise the Board of Inquiry for this investigative hearing. The notice for the hearing was published in the Federal Register on July 11th, 2025. I now recognize our hearing officer, Dr. Dan Bauer.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hamidi. Before we get started with today's meeting, please silence your electronic devices if you've not already done so.
Yeah, we can.
Restrooms are in the lobby.
We can skip that.
For those here in person.
I skip through certain things because they
Hello,
just
and
don't
welcome
matter.
to the NTSB boardroom. Before we get started with today's meeting, I'd like to quickly walk you through our emergency procedure
Nope.
devices. If you need the restrooms, they're just outside the
Don't
boardroom
care.
on the wall in the back of the
Does
boardroom.
anybody care about the emergency procedures for a live briefing because we are not there? If you have an emergency, please call 911. Like, do your best.
Familiar with the National Transportation Safety Board. We're an independent federal agency that's charged by Congress with investigating every civil aviation accident in the United States and significant events in other modes of transportation. At the conclusion of our investigations, we issue a final report that's deliberated at a public meeting and includes factual information gathered in the course of that investigation, analysis of that factual information, a set of findings, and a probable cause or causes. We also issue safety recommendations aimed at preventing recurrence of that accident or incident. The NTSB strives to identify and report accurately all relevant facts, conditions, and circumstances relating to each accident and incident we investigate. And when necessary, we hold investigative hearings. An investigative hearing allows the NTSB to gather sworn testimony from witnesses on issues identified by the investigative team for a specific event or systemic safety issues. Investigative hearings are fact-finding proceedings. The purpose is to receive testimony and evidence which may be of aid in determining the cause of an accident. This hearing is a critical part of our ongoing investigation of the fatal mid-air collision involving a Sikorsky UH-60 Lima operated by the U.S. Army under the call sign PAT-25 and PSA Airlines Flight 5342, a CRJ 700, that occurred over the Potomac River near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport at about 8:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 29, 2025. As a result of that collision, the 2 pilots, 2 flight attendants, and 60 passengers aboard the airplane and all 3 crew members aboard the helicopter were fatally injured. Both aircraft were destroyed by impact forces. I'd like to take a moment to address the families who lost loved ones in this tragedy. On behalf of the entire agency, we are so sorry for your loss. We wish we would have met you in different circumstances, but please know that we are working diligently to make sure we know what occurred, how it occurred, and to prevent it from ever happening again. On behalf of everyone at the NTSB, we also are providing a transportation disaster assistance team today to be here to provide support for each of you. Can our colleagues from TDA stand just to make sure where you know where they are in the audience? If you need anything, please don't hesitate to call upon them.
There are no cabin lights for this journey that we are on. I am confident that all of you can find your way to your emergency exits and your bathrooms. We don't have any overwing exits because we don't have any wings. They were ripped off in this case. However, we do have a broken tail on a CRJ 200. So we will just go with that.
Don't you worry
I also
about
want to
that.
thank
I
the
am
American Red
pilot.
Cross.
Huh?
I am the pilot. I will flip that aircraft around. Exits are here, 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 and here. And if you bend yourself and put your head between your legs, you will see your anal channel. That doesn't mean you're a chocolate expert. That just means you can kiss your ass goodbye. That was the safety announcement.
Let me say, if you need anything on this flight, put your head between your knees and kiss your ass goodbye.
With some people, it's the other way around.
Volunteer
because
mental
they
health
talk
clinicians
much.
from the Red Cross will be here for the duration of this hearing to provide emotional support
All right.
for anyone
And
attending.
I appreciate the fact that they have
Again,
this,
please
but
know this investigative hearing.
and I apologize if anybody wants to hear this, but this is stuff that applies to people in the room. We are not in the room. If you need an emotional support animal for this, please just turn off my.
If you take the next major traffic lights, turn left, go a mile, turn right, and never right, and then never right, you'll just be back at the same spot you were before you turned right.
Yes, I understand that this subject can be quite triggering for some people, and that is okay. And if it is, you feel free to turn the stream off and join us on the next one. However, these emotional support psychologists and people from the Red Cross are for people that are in the gallery and listening to these hearings live. So we are going to skip over stuff like this. And this is how we make it through these hearings just a little bit faster.
And can I just add something to that?
Yep.
Right. Listen, obviously, this is going to go into detail in regards of life lost. And please do not put yourself in an emotional predicament. If it is getting too much for you, or you do have trigger warnings, or you do have an issue with flying and stuff like that, remember that everything that is said here by myself or by the host of this stream is our own personal opinion and our insights. And due to the fact that we are both veterans and that we've both got a little bit more of understanding in equipment, mentality, especially when it comes to the BAT 25, all right, please understand that this is only our personal insight from the information we have gathered or seen. We are not subject experts but we are knowledgeable in some of the information that has been stated.
Both from the military side, and also I worked for a civilian airline. So did my mother, so did Mr. Squid, and Mr. Squid currently works in civilian aviation with a degree in aeronautical engineering. So he is my go-to person for, I am not an expert, but I know one. All right, let's get back to this.
Who have courageously spoken out and advocated for important reforms to save lives and improve aviation safety. I hope the information that we uncover during this hearing will support your efforts. Among those who perished on January 29th were 3 brave and highly respected soldiers who dedicated their lives to defending our nation. To their families, I say, you made their service possible. Alongside our condolences, please accept our enduring gratitude on behalf of a grateful nation. The contributions of military families like yours, through your love, your support, and your resilience, cannot be overstated. I'd also like to acknowledge and honor the many active duty service members and military veterans here today, as well as their families. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to our nation. Each of us is forever in your debt. I specifically want to thank Colonel Matthew Parker. He was our party representative for the Army, and I appreciate your support. Finally, I also want to thank the first responders on behalf of the board. Our over 90 organizations responded to the scene of this tragedy to support search and recovery efforts and assist us in our investigative work. Law enforcement, fire officials, dive teams, federal, state, and local agencies. We don't often talk about it, but they're human too. And what they experience can also be quite difficult. So thank you all for your public service, your dedication, and your heart. I'd now like to introduce the NTSB staff. Next to Dan in the front row, we have Mr. Bryce Banning, who's our investigator in charge, or IIC, of this investigation. Mr. Chihoon Shin, aerospace engineer for helicopters. Ms. Marie Moeller, mechanical engineer for vehicle performance. Mr. Sean Payne, branch chief for vehicle recorders division. And Mr. Michael Portman, aerospace engineer, recorder specialist. In the middle row, we have Mr. Brian Soper, lead aviation accident investigator, air traffic control. We have Ms. Sarah Lewis, aviation accident investigator, air traffic control. Dr. Catherine Wilson, senior human performance investigator. Dr. William Bramble, national resource specialist, human performance. Captain Rocky Stone, aviation accident investigator, air carrier operations. And Captain Van McKinney, aerospace engineer, helicopters. In the back row, we have Mr. Brian Fuchs, materials engineer who will operate the audio visuals. Mr. Anthony Lamb, transportation safety specialist who will operate the timer. Dr. Jana Price, transportation safety specialist. Dr. Lauren Groff, chief data scientist. Mr. John Flynn, aerospace engineer, systems. And Mr. Tim LeBaron, director, Office of Aviation Safety. And behind me is Mr. Daniel Baranovsky, who will provide legal support. Now let's turn to the parties of the hearing. Thank you for all your cooperation with our investigation to date. Federal regulations guide how we designate parties to an NTSB investigative hearing. They are those persons and organizations whose participation in the hearing is deemed necessary in the public interest and whose special knowledge will contribute to the development of pertinent evidence. The parties to this hearing have been designated in accordance with these regulations and selected for their technical expertise in their respective fields. As I call the name of each party, I ask the designated spokesperson to identify themselves and then introduce others at their table. Please push the microphone button to talk and then push it again when finished. We'll start with the Airline Pilots Association.
Does anybody care who these people are, or is it just me who wants to skip over the introductions of everybody at these tables? Because they're going to reintroduce themselves when they speak anyway. I don't feel the need to listen to all these introductions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to skip. Just a skip. Okay. General consensus seems to be skip.
Only the designated party spokesperson may question the witnesses on behalf of their respective organization. Parties are essential in helping us develop the facts around an investigation. We appreciate your valuable time and look forward to working with you further as the investigation proceeds.
Wow.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank the many.
It looks like I did that one perfectly right when they got done. I don't know how that happened, and it'll never happen again. So nice try, guys. That's my one time that I ever did something perfectly on the first try. You heard it here first and last.
It's magic.
It's magic. We want it. We want it.
And for any of you who have ever trial watched or will ever trial watch with me in the future, this is how I do trials too. I skip through sidebars. We watch at like 1.25 to 1.5 speed. We cut through the bullshit. I call it a speed play. We don't do the listen to everything and do a bunch of this. We skip over people walking in and out of the room, all of that fun stuff.
Just a quick one. One thing that people have to understand: the reason you've got so many people on each specific designated group is because they're also subject experts. So therefore, each of them will cover certain aspects of, like, for example, the voice recording, voice record bot. There'll be 2 or 3 people. So what they do, they take the subject experts and they add them to that table. So just for the people, if you notice in the center, you had all military. One thing I didn't see there was anyone from the U.S. Air Force, because it was a Army helicopter. So just okay, I'll go back into my cave.
Yep. And when they speak and when they examine witnesses, they will reintroduce themselves. So we don't need every person at every table to introduce themselves. It's just, it's a waste. We just need to know where they're from. Like, I don't need to know every person's face that's involved in a investigation. That's not my, I want to know what the witnesses have to say and where is the status of the investigation and why they decided to call these hearings and why they decided to make it 3 days.
Witnesses testifying at this hearing in support of aviation safety. Witnesses will be questioned under oath. They will remain under oath until the conclusion of the hearing. We ask that all witnesses, and this is important, to be present for the entire hearing, all 3 days, unless you have coordinated in advance with the hearing officer, who will then coordinate with me, because you may be recalled later for further questioning on another panel. The witnesses have been selected based on their ability to provide the best available information on safety issues that are pertinent to this investigation. The witness list was reviewed by the parties to the hearing last week at the pre-hearing conference. In the interest of time, I'm not going to describe the witnesses' credentials. Instead, we have pre-qualified each witness by documenting their qualifications in writing. You may review each witness's biographical information in the public docket, which opened at 9 a.m. this morning. You can find that at ntsb.gov. I'd now like to provide a general overview of the hearing. You may wish to refer to the hearing agenda for more details. We obviously began at 9 a.m. today. We'll begin at 9 a.m. sharply on tomorrow and then the next day, and conclude around 7 p.m. today and 7 p.m. tomorrow. We expect Friday's proceedings to wrap up earlier, but please be prepared to stay the full day. We want all questions to be answered. I will not rush the technical panel, the parties to the investigation, or the Board of Inquiry. We'll break for lunch as needed throughout, so please remain flexible and we will take smaller breaks as well. This hearing will address key issues relevant to our investigation, which are organized into technical panels. The topics for each panel were finalized at a pre-hearing conference with the technical panel, parties to the hearing, and the Board of Inquiry on July 17th. There will be 5 panels that are brought together over the period of 3 days. Today, panel 1 will run until about lunch. The topic is overview of the accident helicopter's air data systems and altimeters. Following lunch, assuming we're done with panel 1, we'll move to panel 2, overview of the DCA Class B airspace and helicopter routes. That panel.
And panel 1, that was really where I'm interested in, because the altimeters is what we were discussing when we went over the preliminary report, that something wasn't adding up. And we were asking questions back then that stuff wasn't adding up, and we couldn't quite put our finger on why things weren't adding up. So we might actually get answers today. Who knows?
Well,
Panel
not
will
just
run
that,
until
but
about-
also there was a couple of things besides the altimeter. It was also the training, or how much experience or training she had actually done with NVGs. Because, like I said before, there is a certain amount of hours you need to be able to understand the differences. Like, what are the dark shadows? What's water? What's a ditch? What's flat? What isn't?
Well, yes, but for the first part, they're going to get into the altimeter data, which might actually answer a question that we had.
Yes. Yeah,
Breaking things down into smaller parts, because this is a huge investigation, a huge issue.
Yeah.
Breaking things down, because this is 3 days, so I'm pretty sure we're going to get not everything that we want to know at all throughout the 3 days, but we're not going to get everything that we're going to hear today. So
no, but the thing is, it's going to fill in the gaps where we had the brain farts, where we couldn't find.
yeah, they've discovered more things. They will answer questions that we had, but that, when I hearing that, makes me like, okay, this is going to be worth it.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's that
poor
gap.
Marine, hey, General.
Hi, Paul Marine. It's the only thing that's bugging me, and that's still bugging me, is the distance. There's distance that's not calculated for. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this bit. Well, in a research way.
Yeah, this should be interesting to hear it from the experts themselves instead of trying to read and decipher. I like hearing it from witnesses.
7 p.m. Tomorrow, we'll begin with panel 3, training, guidance, and procedures applicable to DCA air traffic control, which will take us to the lunch break. Following that, assuming we're done with panel 3, we'll move on to panel 4, overview of collision avoidance technology, which will take us until about 7 p.m. The last panel of the hearing, panel 5, will take place on Friday, and that will cover safety data and safety management systems at various organizations. Again, please be prepared to stay that full day. We'll follow the same process for all panels. Dr. Bauer will introduce, as well as the technical panel members and witnesses. I'll swear in the witnesses, who will be questioned in the following order. First, by the NTSB technical panel. Next, by the parties to the hearing, and finally, by the Board of Inquiry. Parties will have designated time during each panel to question the witnesses. During party questions, I'll recognize each organization one by one, round robin style. Each party will keep their questions to 5 minutes or less. We have a timer to help you stay on track. Given that there are 6 parties to the hearing, we should have time to accommodate 2 rounds of questions per party. That goes for all panels. I'll make all rulings on the admissibility of exhibits, appropriateness of questions, and pertinence of proffered testimony. If a party spokesperson objects to any question asked during the hearing or wishes to discuss the admissibility of an exhibit or the pertinence of proffered testimony, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized by me. A word about conduct. This is not an adversarial hearing. The board does not permit cross-examination of witnesses in the legal sense, nor do we permit questions related to fault, outside litigation, or legal liability in general. Such questions are not relevant to the fact-finding purposes of an investigative hearing conducted by the NTSB or our statutory mission. This does not mean difficult questions won't be asked. They will be, and they should be. This is an investigation. We are here to improve safety. That is our sole focus. So with that, Dr. Bauer, please describe the exhibits.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hamady. Exhibits for this hearing include reports produced by NTSB investigative staff, videos, and other documents submitted by the technical panel members, witnesses, and parties to support the testimony and questions you will hear over the next 3 days. The exhibits for this hearing are in the docket. The docket number is SA-544. That's Sierra Alpha 544. The NTSB is authorized by statute to disclose information to carry out its mission, but we protect confidentiality and proprietary information to the extent possible. As such, the exhibits contain redactions. These are the results of negotiations between the parties and the NTSB regarding the disclosure of information claimed to be personally identifiable, security sensitive, or proprietary in nature. The exhibits contain sufficient information so that members of the public can refer to them during the hearing and throughout the NTSB investigation. The exhibits entered into the record in any presentations, along with other records of the investigation, become part of the NTSB public docket and are available via the NTSB website, ntsb.gov. The public docket opened this morning. Party spokespersons and witnesses have been provided electronic copies of the public docket containing the exhibits identified above. The docket is located on the investigation page, which you can access in one of two ways: by visiting ntsb.gov, or if you've joined us in person, you can scan the QR code on the hearing agenda. On the investigation page, you will find the link to the public docket on the right-hand side, just below the map. A transcript of the testimony taken during the hearing will be prepared and entered into the docket as soon as possible. In addition, Mr. Baranovsky will keep a list of any documents admitted during the hearing that are not currently exhibits in the NTSB public docket. These documents will be submitted after the hearing and entered into the docket. As a reminder, if a party to the hearing has a new exhibit to propose, in accordance with 49 CFR section 845.9, it will not be admitted unless the chairwoman determines that a good cause has been shown. While parties do not...
What's interesting is their docket does not show, or their website, when you search for dockets, you can't search by docket number. So the fact that he gave us the docket number doesn't help me search for it. I need the accident number. So here's what I'm like, let's see. So this is what I see. Docket search. And the accident ID number, or state and city where the accident happened, but it doesn't have, he gives you the docket number, but you can't just search by docket number. Where's the, what's the point of having a docket number if you can't search by docket number? And I don't, I don't. I need to make one, but right now it costs money, and I wasn't making enough consistently to bother with it, but now I am, so I need to fix that. Who's the guy sitting down with the thick glasses and ponytail? One of the people from the FAA. I don't know what his actual role is. So really low and a nudge to the right. See, I told you not to ask questions you don't want the answer to. All right, get back into this.
To submit written comments, which are beneficial to our analysis. Our regulations provide two separate opportunities to do so. First, parties may submit comments on the hearing. Per 49 CFR section 845.13, following the investigative hearing, any party to the hearing may submit proposed findings to be drawn from the testimony and exhibits, a probable cause, and proposed safety recommendations designed to prevent future accidents or incidents. The proposals shall be submitted within the time specified by the investigative hearing officer at the close of the hearing and shall be made part of the public docket. Parties to the investigative hearing shall serve copies of their proposals on all other parties to the hearing. Such comments are due to me, the hearing officer, within 30 calendar days after the close of the hearing, by September 1, 2025. We ask that any submissions be sent to us electronically. The second opportunity to submit comments is through the traditional party submission process, outlined in 49 CFR Section 831.14. Any party to the investigation may submit to the NTSB written proposed findings to be drawn from the evidence produced during the course of the investigation, a probable cause, and/or proposed safety recommendations designed to prevent future accidents. A due date for this submission will be provided by the investigator in charge at a later time. Parties may avail themselves of one, both, or neither of these opportunities. If you do send comments at any point, they will be included in the public docket.
Hang on a minute. Can you just pause it there for a second, please?
Yep.
Consider party.
Now, is it me or has he, I mean, with the utmost respect, unless I'm not understanding the American terminology, but if they had done their research in regards of the amount of close calls and incidents that happened at that airfield or at that airport, considering that we actually discussed it in detail last time when we covered this, why is he not speaking about, why is he not adding that? Why is this like sounding like hearsay or possible incidents?
Well, he's just going into what they are going to talk about or could be. He's not stating facts right now. He's just stating what could be brought up. He's just explaining what could happen and what could be brought up and what the procedures are, not necessarily what info is going to be shown.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, we already know the result of what's going to be done there, but we'll not discuss that. That'll be jumping ahead.
And
I mean,
thanks, and Barbara, thanks for the email. I actually you sent it to me at the same time that I actually have it. I brought it up, so I appreciate the. I was just about to put it in a bookmark folder so I could find it easily again. As I got your email, but I appreciate it. I would rather have the information more than once than not at all. So I never get upset with anybody for sending me things, and you'll never hear me say, "Well, I already have that."
205 docs, and one of them's over 260 pages. Wow.
Yeah, and I can send this the link to you so that I'll put the link in private chat so you can
have a nightmare.
Well, so you can see what I'm looking at, just in case you want to open anything.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Oh God. Right, I'll mute myself and you carry on.
Okay.
Comments during the analysis phase of the investigation and in the preparation of the final report. Chairwoman Hamady, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, those comments for the hearing due 30 days from the close of this hearing, September 1st, 2025, by September 1st. Thank you so much, Dr. Bauer, for going through that. And I'm now going to turn it over to Bryce Banning, our investigator in charge, to provide an overview of the accident.
Morning, Chairwoman Hamady and members Inman and Graham. I'll begin my presentation with an animation. The animation is about 11 minutes long and will cover a summary of the event, depict the flight tracks of the accident, aircraft, and show air traffic control communications as well as helicopter intercockpit communications. There will also be audio associated with the communications mentioned. The animation will conclude with an airport security video of the accident aircraft in flight and ends immediately when the collision occurs. Events after the collision are not represented in the video. We realize that some attendees and remote viewers may find this animation and security video difficult to view and hear. We would like to take a moment to allow those currently in the boardroom to leave for the duration of the video, or turn away from your screens if viewing remotely. We will inform you when the animation and video are finished playing.
Trigger warning.
End the animation now. On January 29th, 2025, about 8:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a Sikorsky UH-60 Lima helicopter operated by the United States Army and a PSA Airlines CRJ 700 collided in flight approximately 1/2 mile southeast of Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, or DCA. The 2 pilots, 2 flight attendants, and 60 passengers on board the airplane, and all 3 crew members on board the helicopter were fatally injured. The military helicopter flight originated from Davison Army Airfield, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. The flight was an annual evaluation for the pilot with the use of night vision goggles. The airplane was operated by PSA Airlines, doing business as American Airlines Flight 5342, a scheduled domestic passenger flight under Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 121, from Wichita, Kansas to Washington, D.C. Night visual meteorological conditions prevailed at the time of the accident. In the radio communications, the accident airplane was using call sign Blue Streak 5342, and the Army helicopter was using call sign Pat 25. The Federal Aviation Administration provides charts that specify helicopter routes. The helicopter routes have no defined lateral boundaries, but they do have maximum altitude limits. The helicopter routes are depicted by a blue line on the Google Earth image. Helicopter Route 1's western section begins in Cabin John, Maryland, and follows the Potomac River southeast to Washington, D.C., through the Tidal Basin and the Washington Channel to Haines Point, and then turns east along the Anacostia River. At the time of the accident, helicopter Route 4 intercepted Route 1 at Haines Point and continued south along the Potomac River's eastern shore past DCA and the Wilson Bridge. North of Chain Bridge, the maximum altitude is 1,300 feet. Between Chain Bridge and Key Bridge, the maximum altitude is 700 feet. Between Key Bridge and Memorial Bridge, the maximum altitude is 300 feet. And south of Memorial Bridge to the Wilson Bridge, the maximum altitude is 200 feet.
And I'm so glad they are going into this, because this is what we saw in the preliminary report, but it was hard to tell exactly where, because everything was so convoluted and it was such a small graphic that it was. I'm glad he's explaining it. And this is one of the reasons I love to watch these, is because people talk. I don't have to do any interpretations. They interpret it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I did point out the heights from the Key Bridge down to Wilson Bridge, because we had to zoom right into the actual schematic of the landing and the information. We had to zoom right in to actually see it.
Yeah.
With the 200 and then the line.
And here's the thing. They're going to go over, I would assume, what they say about assuming, so take this with a grain of salt, that they're going to go over the max altitude according to the graphs and what was supposed to happen at the same time that the landing area.
I think they probably will, but don't forget, we've also got the last minute change of runways from runway 1 to runway 33. So we've got that to add into that equation as well, because the height difference changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it just makes me wonder if something was read wrong in the cockpit too of the helicopter. And this is where my brain goes, and I know he's going to explain more, but if they just read wrong about altitudes and they just stayed at the altitude in the former, or their map was wrong, because that's a very real possibility too, because shit can change and sometimes people don't get the most accurate information that we think they should have.
Well, to play devil's advocate, I've witnessed this myself many years ago, where we got invited to an RAF airbase. And the pilots, helicopter pilots, and even jet pilots, they do a pre-flight briefing, and they actually go through every single detail, including flight paths around other airfields or airports. You got different, I think they call it A, B, C, and E flight zones or something like that, or I can't remember exactly what it's called. But they should have known about the heights and everything else prior to flying that route. So it's all up in there. It's all speculation. We don't know until we actually hear what,
Yeah, I just loved the way he was explaining this because he made it so easy, and with not just with explaining it with the words, but the way what I couldn't do with the graph was he is putting I'm pretty sure I could, I just don't know how, a dotted line over it so you can see exactly, like, there is no question here to here, like, and here to here is another issue too because the key bridge was taken out, so it's a thing too. It makes me wonder about certain issues, but that's a sidebar that we don't have time for.
Yeah, he's basically taking you through stages from the
and
start of the route.
I love that because I'm a very break it down into steps, baby steps, shall you say?
Yep, it's a typical military idiot guide.
Yeah, and that's how I need things broken down. Like, how to yes, just in case, for those of you who are of the civilian persuasion, the military in some of their books, especially their maintenance manuals, will tell you how to insert a screw and which way to turn it.
He's basically putting a manual into the visual and verbal.
And that's what my military brain needs. Someone to dumb it down into government issued.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, Tammy, I am so sorry. My granddaughter died in a small plane a few years ago, almost the same spot the plane went down today. I am so sorry. I can't even imagine. I just can't.
That's talking about, just very quickly talking about that. It is unbelievable how many incidents that are now being portrayed on TikTok, on YouTube, and other platforms. The amount I have come across. Only a Phoenix airline, or where is it? An aircraft crashed on a highway in the States yesterday. I mean, there's so many of these incidents now suddenly happening. Now, is it because of what happened with this accident here, that suddenly people started to, you know what, I'm going to post this? Like the close call where there's a guy in a Cessna trying to land and then landing, and then suddenly there's a plane just appears in front of him, not 10 foot away, and then they had to pull up. You know, it's getting very, very it's getting.
And that's what today's stream was originally going to be about before I knew that these hearings were going on, was comparing 2025 statistics and 2024 and 2023 and before statistics to see if there's actually an increase in problems or if things are just being mass reported in the sense of the prevalence of social media in 2025 versus previous years, the fact that people hate a certain person in the White House and they want to make a certain person look bad, and optics are everything. So if it looks like there's more without doing the research, if it looks like there's more, even though it might be based on events that happened 5-10 years ago that are event now leading to crashes, there's a bunch of stuff, but the basic place to start with that is the data, the raw data of numbers. And that's what today's stream was originally going to be about before I knew that these hearings were starting today.
Yeah, but the only thing I want to say to this is that I find it, what concerns me, most of the stuff that I have found is in regards of ATC to ground, or ground to ATC, or aircraft, ATC to aircraft and ground to aircraft. Like I was watching one this afternoon, I don't know if I sent it to you, is where there was a Canada flight coming into land, and I have not got a clue how a pilot can fly towards a taxiway with 4 aircraft lit up like a Christmas tree, and then flies within 15 feet of one of the aircraft and then pulls up. He actually flew over 2 aircraft, missed one by about 15 to 20 feet, and then obviously pulled up. And every single pilot on that taxiway were like going over the radio going, yeah, we need to go back to the gate. But anyway, sorry, let's carry on with this.
Let's carry on with this. And I'm going to let this play because I have to use the little girl's room. I know I told you not to announce it, but the host needs to announce it so that you know why I disappeared.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but all toilets on this aircraft are out of service, so you'd have to wait until we land, madam.
Mama Bladder can't do that. But fun fact or TMI, depending on how you want to look at this, and all the years that I've flown and all the aircraft that I've been on, I have never once used an aircraft lavatory.
The only time I've used a toilet where I was really embarrassed is when we were flying in a C-130, and then I went, oh, where's the pisser? Oh, over there, and it was just this curtain. Yeah, so that was embarrassing.
9.5 hours on a C-130 from Norfolk, Virginia to Fallon, Nevada, and I never once had to pee.
Excuse me. Try from Akatori to freaking Basra.
I don't know where that's at.
Akatori is in Cyprus and Basra is in Iraq.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know what the second one was. The first one, I didn't know where that was at. But anyway, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you go to the bathroom. We are sailing.
At 15 minutes before the collision, Pat 25 requested permission to travel from Cabin John along Helicopter Route 1 to Helicopter Route 4 to Davison Army Airfield. The DCA local controller approved the request.
25 is looking for Captain John, Route 1, Route 4 to Davison. 25 approved.
There was no communication between Pat 25 and the DCA local controller for 12 minutes. At 8:39 p.m., 9 minutes before the collision, Flight 5342 was cleared for the Mount Vernon Visual Runway 1 approach to DCA by Potomac Terminal Radar Approach Control. Select in-cockpit communications between the instructor and the pilot in Pat 25, primarily about altitude, will be shown on a black background in the animation. At 8:43 p.m., 5 minutes before the collision, Flight 5342 was handed off to the DCA Tower Local Controller. The local controller asked the crew of Flight 5342 if they could switch their approach from runway 1 to runway 33.
Push 5342, Washington Star 1 Star 32017, Gust 25. Can you take runway 33?
The crew accepted the change and they were cleared to land on runway 33. This magnified satellite photograph shows the locations of runway 1 and runway 33 at DCA.
Yeah, we can do 33, runway 33, we're good. Push 5342 at Wilson Bridge, change to start runway 33, runway 33, quick to land. Change runway 33, runway 33, runway 33,
There was no further communication between the local controller and the crew of Flight 5342 before the collision. The following animation shows the positions and altitudes of the accident aircraft for the final 3 minutes before the collision. An altitude profile view of the two accident aircraft is also displayed. Audio of the air traffic control communications will be played during the animation. The local controller was operating on 2 channels. While all aircraft could hear the local controller, helicopter crews could only hear radio transmissions from other helicopters, and airplane crews could only hear transmissions from other airplanes. Only communications between
What did I miss? I know that I must have missed something because I know that Spawn always has a lot to say. So did I miss anything of great importance to the investigation, or did I miss things we already knew?
No, they basically just confirmed what we were saying is that like the last 2 miles, he basically changed from runway 1 to runway 33. And also that but now we're going to see what the hell is that? Anyway, yeah, sorry, my brain just went blank now.
Sorry, refilling the desk snack container just in case I get a visitor.
Yeah, so basically what they're doing now, they're showing the flight level of Pat 25 and also I believe the flight level of the flight 5342 when they're approaching the airfield or the area of contact.
Okay, so we're gonna.
But I just noticed looking at what they were doing there, what they're showing in the video. Pat 25 went from 300, went from, I think 290 or something, and they were at 360. So they're richly climbing where they should be at 300 by that time.
They should be going down, and they're climbing. That's opposite of what they are supposed to be doing. Interesting. Okay. Let's get this started again.
Between the local controller and Pat 25 will be shown in text on the screen. The controller twice advised the crew of Pat 25 about the conflicting traffic on approach and circling to land for runway 33. Both times the crew of Pat 25 reported that they had the traffic in sight and requested to maintain visual separation. The controller approved the request both times.
Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ at 1,200 feet, circle runway 33. Dispatch roof. American 1630 Tower, runway 1, lot boy, traffic throughout circle runway 33, dispatch 16 mile final.
Flight up rate, runway 1, American 1630. Runway 1.
17, stand by. Wish you 5307. Keep rolling out to November, ground point 7 today.
November 307.
American 1630, wind star 32014, gust 25, traffic 2 mile left base, runway 33, no delay, runway 1, clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Most 7 request. Most of you say route 3 zone 6. Most 7 approved.
American 472,
They're climbing again. Why are they climbing?
Do you know? Keep it going because, I mean, I've got a suspicion of what happened here.
I mean, I can see, I can see over here. They're you can see my mouse. They're climbing. They're over their ceiling, but they're steady. Then they start to drop down to where they're supposed to be, which kind of makes sense. Okay, we're above where we're supposed to be. We're going to stop dropping down. And then all of a sudden they start climbing again. And it's something just, I don't know, something just seems off.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you my insight after when this is finished.
Okay.
What do you think about a helicopter 102991 on the altimeter requesting zone 6 for Fairfax?
Medevac Air Carrier 1 Washington, just altimeter 2990. Approved to Washington class, Robert Space 4 land shooter Fairfax.
2990 Fairfax 1 copy.
Pass 25, get the CRJ in sight. Pass 25, pass behind the CRJ.
It's about as a aircraft inside for the separation.
Good separation.
The following video shows the airplane and helicopter leading up to the point of collision. The video was recorded by a camera located near the approach end of runway 33 at DCA oriented to the south. The video shows the night lighting conditions and the appearance of the aircraft lights against the cultural
Squeak, can you
lighting
pause it
of
for a
the
sec?
city.
I can.
Could you take it back to where we can see the communication between the PI and the student pilot
I can.
in Pat 25?
And Barbara, thanks for the email. I just got your other email. I just saw the subject line of it, and it's I appreciate it.
No, go forward now. Keep going forward. A bit more. Stop there. Right, can I come left for me, Mom? I think that's why he's asking. Sure, we're kind of, oh, okay, fine, out towards the middle. So here's my alleged speculative input on this one. She was told to go down to 200, which she confirmed, because she confirmed it with the PI. She then starts climbing. Was she looking down at the instruments with her NVGs, or was she trying to look underneath the NVGs to look at her AGL to find out what her AGL was, and just got it confused with a different instrument? Because why is she kept on climbing for some reason through the whole thing, from the moment they got past the Memorial Bridge, or just before Memorial Bridge, she just started climbing, coming down, and then started climbing, come down, and then climbing, and then come down, climbing.
The one time she did get to where she was even close to where she was supposed to be, right here.
Yeah.
She all of a sudden, like, she got there and she was like, it almost looked like she freaked out and went up, because the rapid change in altitude when she even got close to 200 feet.
Yeah, not just that, but within 4 seconds, it's like she's. And now I don't want to start pointing the fingers, but the PI should have been been making sure of the height. And now, if you, I mean, yeah. One second, I'm going to type it to you.
We're gonna watch this part again, because we're gonna go back to where she gets to 200, almost near 200 feet. Obviously, she's still above that dotted line. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's that yellow line that we're following, where this dotted line right here. If you can follow my mouse, is 200 feet is where she's supposed to be. She's like, it looks like she's at like 250. And then she starts dropping right here to almost where she's supposed to be. And then watch when she gets even what looks like close to 200 feet, which is the maximum altitude she's supposed to be at, by the way, just in case anybody's unclear on that one.
Yeah, she's supposed to be below 200 feet, or that's the maximum ceiling. So that's as high as she can go.
Which, if she would have been at 200 feet, they would have been close, but they never would have been together.
But here's my other question. If they've got radar, or they got any information in regards of radar of how many aircraft were in the air, now, because there were 2 CRJs, was he talking about the one on the runway, or was he talking about the one in the air? And that's one thing you don't see or hear here. There's no, like, the ATC don't say, hey, you've got an aircraft approaching from the south coming towards you, blah, 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 CRJ. That, there's none of that. So, yeah, but anyway, I've sent you what I believe.
Oh, yeah. And can I read what you told me, or do you want to say it? Because I agree with you.
I believe it's her fault. She was not listening to the instructor's instructions, because the thing is, if she would have listened to the instructions, she should have been where she is right now at 250 feet. She should have been around 210, probably, coming down, because that, where you see that Y junction in the river, that's where basically, they should have been at 200 feet, because that's the maximum ceiling there.
Yeah, and Barbara asked a question. Could pressure difference in the air cause the craft to move up and down? Theoretically, I mean, it could.
Updraft in it. Yeah.
These are experienced pilots enough in both. That would be something that you would learn how to manage in flight school.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that she never got below 200 feet was supposed to be the highest that she was supposed to go. And she never got below 200 feet, which her flight instructor should have been like, we're too high, like, get down.
He did say, descend to 200. I mean, she was confirming the height instructions. But one thing that I'm finding very, very strange is that basically she went down and she got to around 200 and then she started climbing again. And like either it was miscommunication or he was paying attention to other aircraft around. And, because she's under instructions, you know what people are like when it's like being in a test environment.
Like think about taking your driver's test.
Yeah. And the thing is, in the military, when you're under that much pressure, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that she confirmed the height, but then started climbing.
Yeah, it's weird. Hey, Dad, how are you?
Papa's good. So
this frustrates me so much. Like I never worked with helos. They were on the flight line next to us. I knew a couple ATs that worked in the helo squadron. Because my thing on deployment was the more people you know and the more people you get along with, when you need something or you need their cooperation, if you get along, it's a lot easier to get things from people than if you're fighting or thinking you're better than people. That's why you never make enemies. Like you just, unless it's absolutely necessary, you don't cut people out or act like you're better than people, because you might need to work with them and collaborate with them someday. And if you hate them and they hate you, collaboration isn't going to be possible. So I always made friends with people that I knew that I would need help with. Other ATs, hey, we're missing this tool, or not we're missing, because you never miss anything on deployment. But our tools don't work, or this tool's not working. Have you all got anything? Or do you know what might work for this problem? Or you fucking talk to people and you get answers. But it's one of those things of I've been around helos enough to know that this is not normal.
No, I mean, there are a lot of fact, right? Let's look at this properly, plain sight, with no bullshit. A lot of factors came into this to cause this accident. The first one was the change of airstrip, okay, for flight 5342. They went from runway 1 to runway 33. What was the reason? Was there a reason? Well, we don't know. Anyway, beside the point. The second thing is, this was a training flight for the PAT 25. This was a refresher training, or it was like, right, we're flying night flight, with MBGs and all that stuff. But the biggest factor that I'm seeing right now, with no filter, is that she was not listening to what the PI was telling her to do. She should. There's always going to be a pre-flight a pre-flight brief. This is where bang, bang, bang. This is where we have to go from 1,000 to 700 to 500 to 200, bang, right? She's climbing when she should have been descending.
Yeah, she made a fatal error. Regardless of anything else that is found out, and as to why, that is in my opinion, that is whether it was because she wasn't listening, whether it was because of an instrument failure, that remains to be the question that we will find out answers to potentially later. However, that is the heart of the issue right now, in the sense of that's the issue.
But if you look at her response in 4 seconds, if you look at what she said over the radio, that tells me she didn't know what she was doing. She was panicking. She was struggling to understand the instructions.
Yeah. So we're gonna play this again. We've already played this once, and then we backed it up and discussed it. But that yellow line is her altitude. The dotted line, for those of you who are just joining us, the dotted line is her maximum altitude, and the yellow line is her actual altitude.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Muscle 70 request. Most of you say Rockford Zone 6. Most 7 approved.
American 472. Good evening, Air 1 Williams, Single Medevac Helicopter 1000 feet, 2991 on the altimeter. Requesting Zone 6 for Fairfax.
Medevac Air 1 Washington Star, National Altimeter 2990. Approved for Washington class Robert Space 4 Land Street, Fairfax.
2990 for Air 1, copy.
Pass 25, the CRJ inside. Pass 25, pass find the CRJ.
65 has a aircraft inside this separation.
Base separation.
And you can tell she sounds unsure about it because she's like, we're kind of okay, fine, out towards the middle. Like, she doesn't understand what is happening. I
mean, he's saying kind of come left to me from where they're positioned. That means they're already over the water. If he's saying come left to me, where the arrow is, where the yellow arrow is, she's not on the flight path. So that means he's trying to get her back onto the actual flight path. Because if you look, the flight path is right on the edge of the coast, on the edge of the.
I'm gonna back it up 5 seconds so you can see where these lines separate, and then you can see she's on the very edge of this line when she should be. If from their perspective, moving left would have her move more towards land and this way, which would put them more out of the way of.
Yeah, it would have been a close call, but it would have been close. A lot of poo in pants type of thing.
And this is, Gail, and this is where we have to get more facts. And because what I'm gathering from the audio was that she was confused, whether it was because of the NVGs, whether it was because of stubbornness, we don't know. I don't think when we're facts is it's a woman. We're not saying that women pilots are bad. I know plenty of women pilots. They seem to be just fine. However, it is what it is. Like you can't make excuses for it just because she's a woman. But to say that this happened just because she's a woman, also like causation doesn't, correlation does not equal causation. But it just sounds like her instructor knew that they needed to go left. And
I mean, on the technical thing, if they'd have went left when he did say that, because if you look where they're positioned, if they'd have went left, I'm just speculating, I'm just guessing now. I personally think it would have been a fucking close call and a lot of poo would have came out. But
yeah, that would have been a butt pucker of all time.
Yeah, it'd have been clinched those pillows really tightly. But just by and look, the fact that she didn't listen to the instructions, he said descend. He said flight level 200, and she actually repeated it. So if he's given her instructions to go down, why was she climbing? That means she didn't have full control of the aircraft. That means she wasn't controlling it properly.
And the next question I have is if he knew that this was a problem and he knew that this was going to be even if the instructor knew that this was going to be a close call, why didn't he take over?
Probably too late. Probably didn't have time. I mean, there's so many who ifs and who knows, what I mean?
Yeah, and hindsight's also 2020. So this is
but she was definitely off the path. Yeah.
But it's just there's so many what ifs, and this is where it gets hard. Because we're just we're speculating, but we're only speculating based on what's been given to us. We're not speculating based on what we've seen in the news. We're only speculating based on what was in the initial report that we read back in, I want to say May. And then we're based on what we know about helos, what we know about our good old CRJ buddy, be it my tail is missing. My tail is broken.
That's what she said. But the thing is, the fact that there's right now, where we're looking at right now, prior to impact, there was only 20 foot of separation.
And I know that people need to train in urban environments for certain things. However, and I know that Gail, this was a training exercise for what if we need to get congressman, president, vice president, people out of Washington, D.C. in case of an emergency. So I understand why they're training here. However, my issue is, as former military aviation, we never did anything that I'm aware of where we put civilians in danger. With the exception of obviously flying over civilian areas, just because, once you leave the base, civilian areas are everywhere. We never did anything like cross an active civilian runway. I've never seen that happen before, except in DC.
In Spain recently, a pilot tried to avoid some geese, and he ended up nearly upside down and saved the plane. He was about 40, 50 feet from the water surface.
Mover did a video on that, and I have to watch it. I follow a pilot named Mover, and he broke that down. He is I think he was Air Force.
Yeah, he was F-15, I think. F-16.
I think he was Air Force, but it was an F-18. It was an F-18EF.
Yeah,
I think. But
going back to this is, I think we should just let it roll and then come back to it.
Your mom asked, seriously, what was the instructor's tone of voice? Did he tell her to change course or just passively suggest it? We'll actually listen to it ourselves, so you can hear it for yourself.
Pat 25, this is CRJ in sight. Pat 25, pass line is CRJ.
This cloud has a aircraft in sight. This is separation.
Separation.
Okay. I don't know. It's internal communications, and we don't have that.
Hang on a minute.
What?
Hang on a minute. Go back. He says, all right, kind of come left for me, Mom. I think that's why he's asking. Sure. We're kind of, okay, fine. Out towards the middle? That sounds like a freaking question to me.
Yeah, and out towards the middle would be right.
Yeah. So doesn't she know the difference between a left and right? Well, just play it. Just because my brain's just, we're going down that rabbit hole again.
Yeah. Well, and Barbara, we read it, and that's where we got that's where we got a little confused about what it said, what we interpreted what it said versus what they might have meant. This is where stage one of this is going to be talking about all the altimeter issues. So hopefully we'll get more specific answers from actual experts in that area versus a short preliminary report. Hopefully, because when I was reading it, I got confused. And be it, guys, it doesn't take much for me to get confused sometimes, but I would look at it and I'd be like, it sounds like they had issues, but at the same time, it doesn't, because so they are, he went into what they were hearing. They could hear each other. So they could each hear the tower, but they couldn't hear each other. So Pat 25 could hear the tower. 5342 could hear the tower, but they couldn't hear each other. So based on frequencies, and I don't know what those frequencies were, but there's a lot of things that hopefully will get figured out. And we are only like an hour into this, and this is 3 days long. So this is going to take us weeks to get through.
Aren't you supposed to reset your altimeter, reset it, and then basically set it to the, not sea level. Yeah, it is sea level, or the level, because obviously sea levels at certain different heights at different places in the world. So it could be like 500 feet above sea level. So you'd have to set your altimeter to 500 feet to be ground level.
I believe so, but that is one of those skill fade issues. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, Barbara, it's 3 days, but it's 10 to 12 hours for 3 days. It's going to take us a lot longer to get through it based on the fact that we're discussing it. And also I can't stream for 12 hours a day. So it's going to take us weeks to get through this. So
unless they pay you $1 million.
Based on the graph, it looks like the pilot had a tendency to lift on the collective control, which changes the pitch of the blades and increases the elevation. Yeah, my dad has more knowledge on how helicopters work than I do. Be it might be small, but in the event of when I was little, we had a lot of remote controlled stuff. Well, my dad had a remote controlled helicopter, so. I'm familiar with that from when I was little, so I kind of know that's where I got interested in aviation was my dad. So I've been interested in aviation since I was a kid, but like helos as far as repair and actual flight surfaces, and I have skill fade because I never actually worked on them. And DC is below sea level.
Right. So yeah, yeah. Let's carry on because I'm interested in seeing what is said because this is interesting.
The following video shows the airplane and helicopter leading up to the point of collision. The video was recorded by a camera located near the approach end of runway 33 at DCA oriented to the south. The video shows the night lighting conditions and the appearance of the aircraft lights against the cultural lighting of the city. Aircraft lined up on approach to DCA can be seen in the right corner of the screen. The flashing lights identify the touchdown zone of runway 33's landing threshold. Flight 5342 is visible in the upper left corner as it approaches runway 33. PAT 25 appears from the left side of the screen, moving to the right as the two aircraft cross flight paths. This concludes the animation.
Thank you, Mr. Banning. We're going to turn to the first panel. So Dr. Bauer, will you please provide an overview of the panel topics and introduce the technical panel and the witnesses?
Chairwoman Hamady, the first panel is overview of the accident helicopters, air data systems, and altimeters. The panels will address helicopter static pressure and pressure altimeter systems, static system error.
Sorry, I was muted. And that right there is some of the family of the victims. This guy right here is a family member of 3 of the victims, I think. Because remember, some of the victims were related and their parents. So some of the people who were lost were entire families, parents and both children, or 2 kids, or 2 kids and a mom. So there's a lot of
Emotion.
Yeah. So them just watching the fact that 2 lines that are represented, 2 lines on a graph, are their family members' end of their last moments of life. So it's yeah, I couldn't either, Barbara. And the only reason I can is right now is because I'm not personally involved. I couldn't if I would have problems. So
And the only thing that what pisses me off right now with this is the fact that they pan the camera around just to show you crying members of the family. That's a bit too much. I mean, in my personal opinion, that you just let them sit there, let them grieve in their own space. You don't have to fucking, oh, look at this, we've got grieving. Of course, you're going to have grieving family members.
yeah, and if you're gonna do it, like show like right here on the end the 2 adults. Like you don't need to show a teenager.
Yeah.
Like who lost his brother.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to show teenagers and kids. Like you just like no. Like they might be adults technically, but they were children when this happened. Like, yeah, a bit too cheeky. People are a bit too comfortable with showing families.
Because they want to get an emotional reaction from it. That's
Yeah, and I understand that this is a pool feed, that this is not the Hill's fault. This is a pool feed that all the networks that are covering this are using. However, that cameraman, if I were that cameraman's boss, or if I was someone who was watching this, I would.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, that would be very.
Yeah, I would like here the pan out from here. Fine, show the audience, show some family members, but you don't need to show children.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you're 18, you're still a child in my eyes. I don't, like I never thought I'd get to that point, but it just pisses me off.
But you can tell that the typical infantry or the typical army position of just play invisible. You see those three guys in uniform over there?
Yeah.
They're all doing the same thing. Every single one. There's 4 of them in uniform, and 3 of them got their heads down. That's a typical body language going, yeah, the less people see us, the better. Because they know that it's very emotional, highly strung in there, because you've got members of family who've lost loved ones on both sides. They're sitting in the same environment. So, there's always the possibility of that spark.
Yeah, and we might say that, yeah, we think it's her fault at this point. However, we might think it's her fault, but at the end of the day, she's still a human being, and she's still someone's daughter, someone's sister, aunt, uncle, aunt, niece, all of that. She is still someone's family. So I will never, I might say karma, because that's just what it is, but I will never celebrate someone's unaliving. I am not that kind of person. And if you are watching this, I deleted you off my Facebook because you celebrated somebody's death. So you can go F yourself.
Can I just point out one thing I just noticed?
Yeah.
If you see the lady with the red hair, the black top on.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. She is looking directly at them.
Yeah, I noticed that. And I'm assuming when I say children, your mom, I'm sure that these people are over the age of 18, and they probably wanted to be there because of the fact that they wanted to know what happened. However, their parents and or family members were probably probably asked them multiple times, "Are you sure?" So they're probably there on their own volition. I'm sure nobody forced them to be there. However, just because you're there on your own volition doesn't make it any easier. And it's probably healing for them too, to know what happened. I mean, in a way. So, and Hung Hung Hero, thanks for the $2 super chat. Squid, get off my lawn.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's pro quo, genius. Oh my goodness! But I will be that get off my lawn person when I'm older. I will be. I just will be. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Altimeter. Total error effects on the accuracy of barometric altitude. Military and civilian design requirements for helicopter air data systems and altimeters. Design challenges for helicopter air data systems and altimeters. Helicopter altimeter accuracy, standards, checks, and verification. And how accuracy of parametric data is verified and maintained for both civil and military flight data recorders. The NTSB technical panel, starting on my right, is composed of Mr. Chihoon Shin, aerospace engineer, helicopters; Ms. Marie Moeller, mechanical engineer, vehicle performance; Mr. Sean Payne, branch chief, vehicle recorder division; and Mr. Michael Portman, aerospace engineer, recorder specialist. Witnesses for panel 1 are composed of the following individuals, starting from my left, nearest the board members. Mr. Dan Cooper, senior technical fellow for avionics, systems integration and test with Sikorsky. Mr. Lance Gant, chief scientist and technical advisor for rotorcraft with the Federal Aviation Administration. Chief Warrant Officer Colleen Lewis, Department of Evaluation and Standardization with the U.S. Army. Mr. Steve Bradham, Chief Airworthiness Engineer with the U.S. Army. And Mr. Scott Rosengren, the UH-60 Chief Engineer with the U.S. Army. Chairwoman Hamady, these witnesses have been pre-qualified and their respective experience and qualifications appear in the docket as exhibits.
Thank you, Dr. Bauer. Will the witnesses please stand? Please raise your right hand and answer by saying, "I do." Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this hearing will be the truth? Thank you. You may be seated. As a reminder to the witnesses, you'll remain under oath until the conclusion of the hearing. We ask, and this is very important, we ask that you answer questions factually. Please avoid analysis or any speculation. If there's a question about the question, if it leads to speculation or you think it might, just direct the question to me and I'll make sure to clarify. Also, I'm going to ask our staff, we've already talked, but just a reminder, and then also the witnesses, please do not use acronyms. We all use it frequently, but there are a lot of people both in the audience and watching virtually who don't know what those acronyms mean. So we want to make sure that they can follow along. So please try, I know it'll happen, of course, but if we can try and do our best, I think that would be much appreciated. Finally, you have microphones ahead of you, so just push the microphone button to talk and push it again when you're finished. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Shin.
Well, Gail, there's a lot of like things that need to get out of the way, like a lot of housekeeping stuff, like they did in the very beginning. It's just, you know, all of that stuff, and us discussing the basics. And happy lurking, yes. Happy lurking, your mom.
Also, keep an eye on that Chief Warrant Officer Lewis. Just keep an eye on her.
Yeah.
I just noticed something with her.
She just, I don't know. She just, like, even when they were swearing in, like, she just has this look to her. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you know,
Good morning.
Sorry, just before you carry on. There's one thing I learned about, there's one thing, and anyone who's served in the military will understand what I'm about to say. There are people, excuse me, there are people in the military who get promoted out of the blue for unknown reasons. And then suddenly you get these people, right? They will end up in the position of power. And when you approach them with an issue or a problem, they won't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then they'll point you to someone else. And then suddenly about 3 or 4 weeks later, you're getting your ass chewed out by the individual who doesn't know what they're doing because you actually did the job and you had to go and ask other people. She looks to me that she's been put in that position, right? Because she just happened.
She looks to me like she is nervous to be testifying in front of a group of people. Like, because she looks to me like she is uncomfortable with being there. And I'm not the most comfortable with public speaking myself. So I don't.
You're telling me you never done an icebreaker?
Yeah, I don't like public speaking.
Well, what do you think you're doing now, my darling?
I know, which is one of the reasons that this is bizarre for me. And sometimes I do say, even though like I'm confident and I'm fine, but I'll say, just because of the fact that I am not a public speaker. I took a, and the fact that I have cognitive issues, but I did take a public speaking course and a speech class in college. I am just not a public speaker. I will, if I know that someone is having issues, like we're on a team and they're talking and they start stumbling, I can jump in and help them. But like if it's all eyes on me, I'm like, so this whole like live streaming on YouTube and being comfortable in front of a camera when it's all me is bizarre, because the two greatest fears I've ever had in life, I've said it before and I'll say it again, public speaking and reading out loud. Like when I was in school and I was called on to read out loud, I was so nervous.
Well, here's the thing here's my 5 cents on this, or 5 pence or whatever, right? She looks like someone who reminds me of someone who I knew, and the only way they were able to look good is if they had other senior NCOs or a junior officer who's just come out of Sandhurst or something around them. I mean, like, I'm just prejudging. It's like people are going to say, "Oh, you're a fucking hypocrite. You're prejudging her. You're not giving her a chance." Yes, I'm going to give her a chance, but if you look at her and look at everyone on that table, and then look at the guy at the end, Scotch Rodman, U.S. Army, right?
This guy.
Yeah. Keep an eye on her. That's all I'm saying. I've just got this feeling that she's going to go and ahhing, and
she looks like she's nervous. She looks like she's nervous. I'm like, just from me, she looks like she's closed off because she looks like she's nervous. Like either she's not a public speaker and she's nervous to be there to begin with. She's upset that she has to say what the thing she's about to say that she doesn't want to say. You know, like someone could be, no offense to anybody who's a feminist out there. I have you in my audience. I love you guys because, you know, you're the normal feminist. However, to say some certain things and negative things about someone that you might have known, been friends with, thought they were a really good person, and now you're here having to answer questions, maybe painting them in a negative light, not necessarily the most comfortable position to be in either. So she strikes me as that, like, she does not want to be there. Not that she was put in a position of power and she shouldn't be there, as like it didn't deserve it, but like right now, first impressions. And to those of you who are going to tear us apart in the comments, or on other streams, you know, because the haters love to do that, and say that we were talking negatively about people, whether you like it or not, this book right here, the brain book, whether we like it or not, first impressions mean a lot. The brain judges instantly. It's not something that we can control. It's a primitive reflex from our brain to know, are we going to be safe? What is our situation here? Is this a place where I can find food, shelter, blah, blah, blah. It's a primitive brain instinct to judge when you first meet somebody. And unfortunately, no matter how hard we try to get over that, it happens. Welcome to psychology.
And it's not just that. I am not judging her. I am talking from experience. I am speaking from what I have seen in my own career. Because the thing is, the guy on the right-hand side, there's a big difference, ladies and gentlemen, and you have to see our point of perspective. We both served, and that guy on the right is a civil servant. Civil servants have a set amount of hours. They do set a job, and that's it. He may be a subject expert, fine, but look at the fucking grin on his face compared to the others. And she looks like she's from a group of a team or like a department in the unit, all right. And they've gone, right, we need someone to go and make statements. Here's the paperwork, and she's probably a bookworm. She's gone through everything. Yeah, I can make that statement. But the thing is, if you have a look at all the rest of the military personnel in that board, in that room right now, she's the only one who looks like she's just being freaking stabbed up the ass with a candle. I'm just saying, but I'm not gonna put her down, because yeah, people can be nervous, fine, but just keep an eye on her. That's all I'm saying. That's my personal opinion. Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. No, everything here is our personal opinion. And the thing about our personal opinion is a lot of the times we disagree with each other. And what makes that great is we don't live in a damn echo chamber where everybody on the stream and everybody in the chat agrees with each other. The point of this is that we all disagree with each other about certain things. And that's what makes this great, is because we all get different perspectives based on our own personal opinions, experiences, like life experience, age, culture, all of that. Because if you only talk to people who agree with you, you're never going to learn anything. And you know how they say the best way to get the right answer is the answer you want to hear is to talk to yourself. You know, it's Flux's fault anyway. It is Flux's fault, because you know why I have a channel? Because Flux invited me on her channel for Fluxing Around. And I
still want to do truck driving with Flux, but I think I'm going to be the one ahead of her, so I know I feel safe.
Yeah, and Tammy, we could be completely wrong. Maybe she's confident, and that's just she has major RBF.
Yep.
Who knows? She hasn't spoken yet, so that's just first impression. Like this guy on the right doesn't have a care in the world.
Nope.
Like that never works for me. I always lose a self-argument. Well, can't win them all. But it's just one of those things of we don't live in an echo chamber here. A lot of the times, Spawn and I disagree with each other, and he'll call me and we'll talk, and I'll be like, I think we're in a chat. I'll be like, that's not what I meant. Relax, calm your tits, and move on.
And then I'll go, wait, hang on a minute. How dare you speak to me like that, madam? How dare you? I challenge you to a duel.
Tell him to calm his tits and move on. And then 5 minutes later, we're fine. Or he'll tell me to shut the fuck up and get over it. And 5 minutes later, we're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because we realize that the best part about this is the fact that we don't always agree. And the fact that the cultural differences, and yes, I am European by background, but I'm American. So
I still want to see proof of that. Not saying anything.
See this is Finn. This is Finn.
It's Finnish, is it? Oh, you speak Irish.
This is what being a quarter Finn looks like. My grandpa was a product of Finnish immigrants.
Well, you know what that means, don't you? You need to go to a tanning saloon and get yourself tanned. Get tan for crying out loud.
My grandpa was a product of Finnish immigrants, which makes him 100% Finn, which makes my mom 50%, and makes me 25%. So
I'm going to do something that co-host usually does. Right, let's get back on topic.
All right, let's get this started. Thanks for the $2 super chat. You're in trash. Oh, Unhung Hero. Thanks for making sure I don't work for free today.
Oh, in the heart, you're on.
He wants you to get back on topic because he was losing.
No, it wasn't, Jeffrey. You can shut up as well. No, I wasn't losing. It was just like we were starting to derail, and we need to stay on.
Proof I'm an American.
Yeah, fucking hell. Oh my god, here we fucking go. I'll just sit here and take it all. Come on, give me
and this is the best part, because we joke around with each other and we tell each other to shut the F up and get over it and all of this and you suck, but it's like in jest. It's like, God, as long as you got a smile on your face and you're laughing about it, we're not serious. Like if you see me but shut up and get quiet and there's no smile on my face, okay, then I'm mad. But other than that, it's all in jest. And that's what a lot of people can't understand, is that people can call each other names but still be friends. It's called jokes. All right, let's get to this.
We will begin panel 1 of this investigative hearing with a presentation from myself and Ms. Moeller. The purpose of this panel is to discuss the air data system and altimeters on the UH-60L Blackhawk helicopter. Investigators identified discrepancies related to the accident helicopter's altitude, leading to additional investigative work to determine the validity of the altitude information displayed to UH-60L pilots and the altitude data recorded by the helicopter's flight data recorder, or FDR. To begin, it's important to start with some definitions of altitude, which is an aircraft's height above some reference point. In this image, there is an example of two different ways that altitude can be measured: above mean sea level and above ground level. We will discuss pressure altitude, which is then corrected to height above mean sea level, and radio altitude, which is measured by bouncing radio waves off a surface below the aircraft to determine its height above ground. A third type of altitude, GPS geometric altitude, will also be referenced. Generally, atmospheric pressure decreases with increased altitude. The air is thinner on top of Mount Everest compared to near sea level, such as Washington, D.C. The International Standard Atmosphere Model, or ISA model, defines an altitude for a baseline pressure of 29.92 inches of mercury at sea level. To measure the static air pressure around an aircraft, it can be compared to the ISA model to determine how high the aircraft is. However, as you know from weather forecasts, atmospheric pressure can change, so a correction factor for local atmospheric conditions is needed to be applied to more accurately determine an aircraft's height above sea level. A barometric altimeter is essentially a barometer that measures static air pressure and displays an altitude in feet. The image on the right shows a UH-60L barometric altimeter. Local atmospheric conditions that...
And honestly, that altimeter is pretty standard across aircraft. Like, that's not a military aircraft. That looks damn near the same one we had in an E2. Not that much different.
And they're all adjustable as well, so you can adjust them to your main sea level.
Yep, this is this dial right here. And this right here is a waste of money, because this thing will cost you about $2,000. And I could make it in my garage for probably $150.
Necessitate a correction factor can be applied to the altimeter using a barometric adjustment knob. This local altimeter setting corrects the ambient pressure altitude to the helicopter's altitude above mean sea level. The barometric setting for the altimeter is shown on a 4-digit counter in the altimeter setting window, also known as the Colesman window. Local altimeter settings are broadcast on Automatic Terminal Information Service, or ATIS, and by Air Traffic Control, or ATC. Multiple cockpit instruments, including the barometric altimeter, measure static air pressure surrounding an aircraft as part of their function. Static ports supply static air pressure to these instruments via a series of tubes. Static ports can be located on the fuselage, as shown in the yellow arrows in this image. Static ports can also be incorporated into a pitot tube, which is called a pitot-static probe. The UH-60L helicopter, as shown in the image on the right, has 2 pitot-static probes that are located on the left and right sides of the cockpit roof, immediately aft of the cockpit doors. The UH-60L helicopter has 2 independent static systems, identified as Static 1 and Static 2. Each pitot-static probe has 1 port for its pitot system, 2 ports for its Static 1 system, and 2 ports for its Static 2 system.
So if I do remember correctly, the pitot tube on our jet turned. And if it turned, the AEs would have to actually go up and manually adjust it, because inside the cockpit, they would get they would have an issue. And I don't know exactly what the issue was. I was not an AE. That was not cockpit stuff, was not my avionics in the back was my thing. ACLS was the only real, and GPS was the only issue that I had in the cockpit, so to speak. But they would get a note of, basically get called out by the pilots, and they would have to go adjust it to make sure that it was facing forward, and those inputs were facing forward. And I don't know exactly what that was. That was 15 years ago, 20 years, about 15 years ago was the last time that I dealt with any of that. However, I do remember that the AEs would have to go and adjust that tube to make sure it was facing the correct direction, so that it would actually get airflow through it, so that you would get correct inputs. So if those might have had an issue. Something as simple and stupid as that could cause an issue with your.
I got one question for your brain. Now, I know for a fact that, you know, as I said, I've been to, we got invited to an RAF air base, and we were taken around an aircraft, and we were showing the PTOTs, and we were also showing that there's covers that go over the PTOT indicators, that what you're seeing there right now, to protect the inlets and obviously the PTOT. And before flight, they are removed. Now, the question I've got is the ones on the side of the aircraft, the two ones that he showed earlier on the aircraft, the two, what was it?
Right there?
No, before that. Those. Are they actually covered, or are they left out to the elements?
I think those are flush, if I'm remembering, because a Blackhawk is the Army version of a Seahawk, and that's pretty much what we had on the. Or that's not pretty much. That is what we had on the carrier with us. So I think those are flush. So there's no way for those.
Right. The reason I'm asking is because when we were at APOD in Iraq, I saw a couple of guys walk around and actually brush them off. So I'm not sure if they are supposed to be covered or not. But I'm just asking because. Yeah.
Well, do you notice this? Did you notice where the image came from? So they're talking about a Blackhawk, but image courtesy of the U.S. Navy. They're actually looking at a Seahawk, not a Blackhawk. Same type of aircraft, just called something different based on the service that's used.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I did notice the difference in the cockpit.
Yeah. So that's what we call a Seahawk. And Navy has these nice. I don't know if Army does, but word to rescue, just in case you have a water exit or a crash. You know where to find, or a way to find people. So it's and Ung Hung Hero brings up a good point. Pitot tube malfunctions have caused crashes. Yeah, and that's kind of with the altitude. That was one of my first. And I have brain fog and I have skill fade because it's been 15 years, but there are just certain parts of aircraft that you just don't forget. And pitot tubes is one. So we'll go back to where we were before.
Static probes that are located on the left and right sides of the cockpit roof immediately aft of the cockpit doors. The UH-60L helicopter has two independent static systems, identified as Static 1 and Static 2. Each pitot-static probe has one port for its pitot system, 2 ports for its Static 1 system, and 2 ports for its Static 2 system. The right pilot's barometric altimeter uses static air pressure from the Static 1 system, while the left pilot's barometric altimeter uses static air pressure from the Static 2 system. The simplified diagram on the right shows how the Static 1 system supplies static air pressure to the right pilot's barometric altimeter. An air data transducer also uses static air pressure supplied by the Static 1 system. Outputs from the air data transducer are used by multiple helicopter systems. One of these systems is the remote data concentrator, which receives uncorrected pressure altitude data and supplies that data to the Integrated Vehicle Health Monitoring System, or IVHMS, which includes the Helicopter Flight Data Recorder, or FDR. Next, Ms. Moeller will discuss the pressure altitude data from the Black Hawk's FDR that was analyzed for this investigation.
With that explanation of pressure altitude and barometric altimeters, I'm now going to discuss the altitudes recorded by the accident helicopter. This plot shows the FDR recorded pressure altitude in blue for a portion of the flight. The blue dotted line is the pressure altitude corrected for the local altimeter setting. The red line is what we determined to be the actual height above sea level of the helicopter based on radio altitude and terrain, which will be discussed further in the next slide. The Army crew was trained to fly the helicopter routes around DCA using the barometric altimeter. The triangles show 3 pilot altitude callouts recorded on the CVR during this portion of flight. Altitude callouts showed a possible lower than actual altitude understanding by the crew. To explain how we determined the helicopter's actual height above sea level, I'm going to start by walking through the altitudes recorded by the accident airplane. The CRJ recorded 3 types of altitude measurements: pressure, radio, and geometric. As discussed at the beginning of the presentation, radio altitude is measured by bouncing radio waves off the terrain below an aircraft, and geometric altitude is determined by GPS satellite triangulation. These 3 types of altitude are shown in this plot as recorded. Like pressure altitude, radio and geometric altitudes must be corrected for local effects. When these 3 independently measured altitudes were corrected for local conditions, they showed good agreement by being within 10 to 20 feet of each other, confirming they were reliable measurements of the airplane's height above sea level. After some additional checks at known ground locations, the CRJ's altitude was considered well validated.
Here we go.
This plot shows the CRJ's corrected pressure and radio altitudes as solid lines, and the Blackhawk's corrected pressure and radio altitudes as dotted lines for the end of the flight. The Blackhawk was not broadcasting to ADSB, so no geometric altitude was available for comparison. For the final 5 minutes of flight, the helicopter was flying over the tidal portion of the Potomac River, so the radio altitude would be equal to the height above sea level. Additionally, later testing of similar helicopters, which will be discussed next, showed good agreement between geometric and radio altitudes while over the river, adding an additional level of confidence to the radio altitude's accuracy. While the radio altitudes of the CRJ and the helicopter, which are shown as red lines, were within 10 feet at the approximate time of impact, the helicopter corrected pressure altitude was 100 feet lower than the CRJ's corrected pressure altitude. This picture shows the instrument panel of a UH-60L. On the right side of the image, the radio altimeter is circled in red, and the barometric altimeter is circled in green. The discrepancies between the radio and pressure altitudes recorded on the accident flight data recorder and questions about what altitude was displayed to the crew based on their altitude callouts led to a series of altimeter tests. 3 UH-60L helicopters from the same battalion as the accident aircraft flew a formation flight where the right seat pilots wore cameras to record the instrument panel. After the flight, the data recorders for each helicopter were downloaded for comparison to the in-cockpit instrumentation videos. This led the lead helicopter was broadcasting to ADSB, so geometric altitude for that aircraft was also recorded. The altimeter testing found that on the ground, before the engines were started, the barometric altimeters of all 3 helicopters were within 20 to 45 feet of the field elevation, which would be considered within tolerance. Once the main rotor was producing enough lift to hover, the barometric altimeter readings dropped significantly and were lower than the helicopter's actual on-the-ground elevation or hover altitude. Notably, the barometric altimeters continued to be 80 to 130 feet lower than the helicopter's determined altitude above sea level when flying at speed over the tidal portion of the Potomac River later in the test. Additionally, the corrected pressure altitude recorded on the data recorders did not match the video captured barometric altimeter readings on the ground for any helicopter, but did show good agreement when flying over the Potomac for 2 of the helicopters. The results of the flight test led to on-ground tests of the pitot-static systems for each helicopter. For these checks, the pitot-static probes are connected to a test rig that simulates set altitudes by increasing or decreasing the pressure the probes see. The altimeters on 2 of the test helicopters performed well. On the 3rd helicopter, the altimeters still performed within or near the tolerance, but were less accurate. So, while the altimeters showed an 80 to 130 foot differences in flight, they were within 20 to 55 feet under a controlled test environment. A helicopter's rotor system produces the lift and thrust that allows it to fly. The wind that you feel when you are near a helicopter taking off is the downwash produced by the rotor, which changes the air pressure around the fuselage of the helicopter, making it challenging to measure an accurate static pressure to determine altitude. The controlled environment of the pitot-static ground checks eliminated all rotor downwash effects, and those results also match the flight test altimeter readings that were made before the engines were started. But once the helicopter rotors were turning and producing lift and thrust, the altimeter readings lowered significantly and stayed lower throughout the flights. In summary,
this is fascinating. It's a lot of information to take in, and it's a lot more than in the preliminary report. but it's very interesting hearing what they did and how they tested it, so that when they come up with a final conclusion, you know that it was thorough. Like, they didn't just throw some tests in a lab and call it a day.
We found discrepancies between the FDR pressure altitude and determined height above sea level for the accident helicopter. Subsequent testing showed discrepancies between the cockpit barometric altimeters and the determined height above sea level on 3 other UH-60Ls. The objective of this panel is to learn more about the design of pitot-static systems and the altimeters, the unique challenges in designing such systems for helicopters, and how the accuracy of these systems is determined and maintained. Another objective of this panel is to learn more about how parametric data, particularly from the air data systems, are validated for flight recorders.
Well, for me, it's, Barbara, you bring up a good point. It's also a little scary, but to listen to her talk and things I had never thought of because I never worked on helos. So this could be a completely me being weird, but to have barometric pressure be used to calculate altitude in an aircraft that creates its own pressure changes based on the rotor, it's not like a typical aircraft that, like, and Spawn, you can tell me what you think of my 30-second like on the fly analysis here, but it's not like a typical aircraft, like a fixed wing aircraft, that you have your 2 engines thrust this way, like movement that way, versus like the downwash from a prop that.
I mean, don't forget the rotor on the helicopter change angle for flight. So if you want to fly forward, you have to pull on the collective and then push forward.
And it's just one of those things that I never would have thought about because, once again, didn't work on helos. But how would that be an accurate indicator of any altitude on a helo when the angle of the rotors are changing and changing the pressure outside of the aircraft, which is changing the pressure? Like, it changes the pressure when you're using pressure to find altitude. Those two things don't seem like they would. I mean,
no,
something tells me that I think.
I get what you're saying, because the thing is, like, I did a little bit of research afterwards, and rotors that going around on a helicopter, they're not going around at a flat level. You know, they sort of like, there's like a give up and down for about an inch or 2 inches.
They're flexible.
Yeah, and there's usually a rotor test where what they'll do, they'll have the rotors going at flight speed, and you'll get someone with a cloth, and they'll put chalk or paint on the tip of the rotors themselves, and then they'll put the cloth up to the rotors, and that will show you where each rotor goes. So you'll have like red, yellow, green, and I think blue, and it will show you each rotor at what height they're flexing when they're going around. So there's a lot of, I mean, I'm not an expert on this one, but I've seen it, and I'm like going, yeah. And then that takes me straight back to the incident that happened in New Jersey with a helicopter. You know, so, you know, they're saying like you got that back slap, but to fly, and then you got different altimeter bearing heights and stuff like that. Yeah.
True, Dad. That's why they use 3 systems to calculate altitude. But back before we didn't have systems, and why would you still keep this on an aircraft knowing that it's a... This is one question that I have for Mr. Squid's best friend, worked on helos in the Marine Corps. So I will see if I can ask his question, or ask him some questions, because yeah. It's just one of those things where you're like, my brain didn't make the connection because until she said it, and then all of a sudden it was like light bulb. It was like, holy shit. No one.
And the fact that there's a discrepancy between the AGL and MSL and everything else. But here's one thing they haven't mentioned yet so far, which probably might get mentioned further into the investigation, is the MVGs.
Yeah, that probably won't be mentioned until like day 2, the end of day 2 or day 3, based on what they said they were going to go through and how they were going to break down the information. So you hyper focus on those NVGs, and
because it's been bugging me.
Baby steps.
Yeah, I know, but it's been bugging me since we did the fucking.
I know. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But I want to.
and Dan did get his power back. 305 days, I believe, without power. I don't know how he did it, but he's got his power back.
What happened?
Dan Davis got his power back. He lost power during Hurricane Helene. He just got power back. He's been running on generators for the last 300 days.
Jesus.
So he got power back last week, or either late last week or like over the weekend. I don't remember exactly what day. They're all starting to run together. So everything's starting to
one thing I do want to, I wonder if they actually measured because they're going on about the differences in heights and the feet they're losing. I mean, why is the military not upgrading their aircraft? If they've, you know, did they know about these issues? Did they? Wait a minute, we're talking about the military here. Of course, they're going to know about the issue.
And that's the question. That's one of the $1 million questions that she's going to. It just begs the question of, if you know about this issue, how do you ever get an accurate altitude on anything, on any helo? Because they ran into issues with all three of the other ones that they tested from the same squadron. And secondly, if they know this is an issue, and how do you ever get an accurate altitude? Why are helos still allowed to cross an active landing path of a civilian airport?
And also, here's another question that you should ask. Considering that these aircraft have had these issues, if they're ongoing issues, don't forget when aircraft are deployed to operational theaters. Look at the increase of possibilities there. You know, different temperatures, different surroundings, different heights. You know. Oh, this is going to open a can of worms. This one is.
It's a Sikorsky, so
Let's go on.
Everything's going to open a can of worms depending on perspective.
This concludes our presentation. Mr. Shin will now begin questioning.
This should
for
be
the
interesting.
witnesses for this panel, we'll ask for questions in 3 distinct topic areas: air data system design, pilot operational considerations with the barometric altimeter, and air data accuracy for flight recorders. So we'll start with air data system design. Mr. Cooper, can you please describe some of the engineering considerations on the placement of static ports on a helicopter?
When placing the pitot and static ports on a helicopter, you must first consider the total set of customer requirements, and then consider the complex flow dynamics, as was shown in your presentation, that occur throughout the whole flight operational regime of the aircraft.
And when you say customer requirements, can you expand on that, please? What that could entail?
For example, they have where they're going to operate. So if they have to land in austere conditions, sand, grass fields, have to consider impacts to material entering the probes or damaging the probes. Must consider maintenance operations on the aircraft. If the probes are placed lower, there is risk, of course, to the maintainers bumping injury as well as damaging the probes. And then another area that needs to be considered: what other sensors are populated on the aircraft? Those sensors have their own needs for placement to meet their performance requirements, and they can create disturbed airflow in themselves in different locations that, of course, would affect that probe location.
Oh, and just a heads up, pitot tubes get very, 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 very hot. Very hot. So like they're one of the things that when the aircraft comes back, do not touch them. Because they get extremely hot, like Yeah, my bad. Thinking of a different helicopter. You're right. Yeah, every once in a while I get something right. I just every once in a while.
I found it very interesting that he just mentioned about possible damage from other equipment. That's a very interesting statement he just made.
I mean, he's not wrong though. There's a
No, he's not. But
bunch
I'm glad he actually mentioned what I just mentioned about operational theaters, because he did mention grass, he did mention sand. So I'm happy about that one.
Yeah, and that's one of the main maintenance things. But the thing about troubleshooting in my mind goes to when I'm troubleshooting something. If there's an issue with one, if there's an issue with more than one, then it might not be damage to the pitot tube itself or the object itself, depending on what we're discussing. My brain goes to, okay, that it's either going to be a problem. If it is the tube or the product itself, it's a larger issue based on damage out of the factory or AIMD than something environmental. Or like my brain goes into troubleshooter mode because that was my area of expertise. So when he's talking, my brain is like, I see his point, but his point's not plausible.
But the thing is, there's multiple factors which we need to consider. Don't forget, all these aircraft are used in one way or shape or form in maneuvers, exercises. They land in different places. They're dropping troops off. They're picking troops up. They're picking equipment up. So there's multiple factors that can affect the whole thing in whole. Now, what I would like to know is that if they know they've had issues like this before, or there are ongoing issues, why are they not upgrading or taking out old equipment and replacing it with tested and verified new equipment?
There's the $1 million question. We're gonna find out, hopefully. Oop. I hate when I have two monitors and I'm like thinking I'm on one and I'm on another.
And Mr. Cooper, how does the location of the static port affect the cockpit instrument readings during different regimes of helicopter flight, such as hover, cruise, sideways flight, backwards flight?
It's a function of the static position error that exists in those different regimes of flight. So the helicopter has, of course, a wide operational movement, forward, rear, sideward, rearward flight, as well as side slip limits. The static port placement must be able to handle the whole regime, although accuracy is normally presented in forward flight.
And Mr. Cooper, how are the aerodynamic effects of the cockpit instrument readings due to placement of the static ports identified during the design phase for the air data system?
When this aircraft was originally designed in the late 70s, placement was done by experience and general practice. Military helicopters from Sikorsky at that time placed the probes over the cockpit, and it was generally found to meet the requirements. Of course, today, computational fluid dynamics could be used to analyze, but in the late 70s, that was an opportunity. So the placement is made, and then flight test is utilized to gather the data to identify the resulting error of that placement.
And is there a design target for the amount of difference between indicated altitude and the actual altitude for the helicopter when designing a system?
Can you clarify, please?
So for the difference between what's indicated in the cockpit instrument to where the helicopter is actually at for altitude, is there a target during the design phase that you try to achieve for the placement of the ports for certain airspeeds?
For the UH-60, it would be based on any government requirements.
And what about for commercial helicopters that Sikorsky has designed?
Again, it depends on the category it's being certified. FAR 291325, provides guidance for static position error, as well as it provides wording that you must use a certified altimeter.
Okay. And with the complex flow environments that we've identified, that are present with helicopters in designing these systems. Can you please describe some of the mitigation strategies that may be used to account for these aerodynamic effects that you see in the indicated altitude?
For the Blackhawk, at the time it was designed and with the government requirements that were provided, really probe geometry, placement, its installation angles is the primary tool. The UH-60 government requirements specified a specific altimeter to utilize. So that would not make the altimeter indication system an option to address any corrections. Present day, of course, with advanced equipment, air data computers give you more of an option. But again, 1970s, late 70s, it was not available, and the government requirements specifically called out the altimeter to be used, and it was provided as government furnished material property.
And Mr. Bradham, how would the Army evaluate mitigation strategies developed by a manufacturer?
Yeah, so typically in flight test, but if I could just back up for 1 second and just to clarify, so for a pedostatic system, we talk about instrument error, which is the actual calibration error in the physical altimeter itself, and that's what you're checking when you check on the ground without the rotors turning. And then you have what is called position error, installation error, which is the error caused by aerodynamic effects around the aircraft. And those are two independent errors with different standards. And I'd say the standards that the Army used and the standards that the FAA uses for civil aircraft are very similar, and these issues are not unique to military aircraft. But your question is how would we evaluate that? And you do an airspeed calibration in flight test, and that airspeed calibration determines, for a given flight condition, determines the position error of the pedostatic system, and then we can mathematically convert that into altimeter error, and we can assess that against a standard. So for the Blackhawk, the position error, that standard was a mil spec called mil I 6115, which has a very similar, slightly more stringent standard than Part 29.
And if a helicopter did not meet that military standard, would there be a required redesign, or would there be a correction factor that gets applied that pilots have to utilize? This question is to Mr. Bradham.
Yes, I think that would depend very much on the specific circumstances. There were, looking back through the historical documents, there were cases where there were small out of spec issues. One knot over a standard in one place, and the decision is made, by the government and the contractor that there's no further action required there. They can provide a correction to the operator when that's necessary, but again, I think it would depend on the particular flight condition and the particular size of and the effect of the noncompliance.
Mr. Cooper, for the UH-60L helicopter, the pedostatic probes are placed above the cockpit, which is closer in proximity to the main rotor. What are the technical considerations that would lead for those pedostatic probes to be placed closer to the main rotor?
In line with what I stated before, it's a balance of the total set of requirements. So again, for a military utility helicopter operating in the landing conditions, it does. Placement of the probes lower, as I said, could expose it to ingress of material, danger to maintainers, damage during ground operations. So that would tend to give guidance, provide an alternative by putting it above the cockpit, as was done on other military models, Sikorsky and others produced at that time.
And Mr. Gant, can you describe how the FAA approaches certification of static systems and barometric altimeters on civil helicopters?
Yeah, so as mentioned previously, for altimeters in civil transport category helicopters, that is regulated by Federal Aviation Regulation 29.1325 for altimeters. And the expectation is that the applicant for certification would comply with all the requirements within that paragraph, including the position error requirements that are in there. There are allowable tolerances.
And from the FAA's perspective, would there be a concern with the placement of the pedostatic probes as seen on the Blackhawk?
I don't have any opinion on that. I think there's different ways to design, just as you've shown in your presentation. Maybe typical today is more on static port locations on the fuselage, but there have been many instances where static ports are also co-located with the pedo system. So again, it comes down with compliance to the requirements and not necessarily the aspects of whether that's incorporated one way or the other.
And Mr. Cooper, aside from customer requirements, what would be other technical considerations to select a pedostatic probe versus a pedo probe with a separate static port that's on the fuselage?
again, I sorry to come back to it, but it is the total set of requirements. In that picture you showed for the fuselage placement, that was a Naval Hawk aircraft, a Sikorsky produced Naval Hawk aircraft, but it does not have a requirement for a sliding cabin, or also known as the gunner's window. So that area would be covered when the gunner's window is in the open position, as it can be in flight. So that would take that location, that example you shown. It comes down to available real estate, the dynamic conditions in that area. In your discussions with me earlier, you mentioned tail ports, static ports, but again, there's equipment on the Blackhawk that would impact that operation. It's considering all the requirements that the helicopter must meet, what's fitted to achieve that, and what available area on the fuselage can be utilized. And then with that, understanding the dynamic conditions that may be present on that fuselage, if it's static, if it's suitable for a static port.
Mr. Bradham, aside from the static 1 and static 2 systems on the Blackhawk, are there alternate static sources?
No, not on the Blackhawk. The S1 and S2 are redundant, and each static system, as you mentioned in your presentation, pulls from each side's pitot tube. So S1 is fed from both right and left, and S2 is fed from both right and left.
Okay.
It's very technical. So
Mr. Cooper,
if
this is for you. Can you please describe the types of air?
it's very technical for people who aren't technically minded. It might go over your head. It's a lot to take in. If you've never heard any of these terms before, I understand. However, it is very important to hear these things, because the more you hear them, the more they make sense. Also, it's a baseline, because if we don't establish the altitude issues, anything else that they might talk about in future days or in future portions of the report won't make any sense, or won't be as accurate, or as the context won't be there.
One thing I've noticed, one thing I do like with this gentleman to the left who spoke there, the fact that he actually pointed out that that was a naval aircraft and not a Blackhawk. So I'm glad that he did that to keep it on top.
There are different requirements based on area of operations. We'll just
And also the fact that he actually stated, said, like on the UH-64 Blackhawk, you've got door gunners. So therefore, those two, those two devices that are on the side on the naval aircraft, if they open that window, it covers them. So they're basically voided. So I'm glad he actually brought that up. That was a good call. That.
Yeah, on a naval aircraft, the air crew is a search and rescue swimmer. Because most of the time, when, at least on a carrier, when a helicopter is up in the air, it's for search and rescue purposes. It is the first thing off the boat, and it is the last thing to come back. So it gets launched first. One, because its launch area is in the way of everything else. Secondly, if something happens to any aircraft launching off one of the catapults, you need that helicopter for search and rescue purposes. And if you don't have that already airborne, it's really hard. You can't have a helicopter on alert status. You already have to have them airborne. They're very difficult to put on alert. Also, the rotor blades on a helo in the Navy fold back in a way that the Army Blackhawks do not, for obvious reasons, because aircraft need, we only have so much space on a carrier.
The tail as well. The tail bends back as well.
Yes, the tail bends back as well. It's a funky thing. If I can find a picture that I took, I'll show you. Yeah, but it's not just storage below. It's not just storage below. It's storage on deck too. There's only so much room. So.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. It's amazing how one aircraft can have a dual role in different services, like the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. yeah, it's the same F-35 for both the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, and the U.S. Navy. However, in the U.S. Navy, it's got a tail hook and it's got different, its nose gear is different because it requires a catapult launch. So things are the same but different.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why I got them mixed up. The Boeing 139 is used for search and rescue as well. Yeah, all helicopters in the Navy are have search and rescue capabilities for the obvious reasons. Water being the most obvious.
Yeah.
We don't really have. I mean, they do. You still have to be knowledgeable and like a door gunner kind of position, but for the most part, it's search and rescue. You are required to be a search and rescue swimmer in order to be aircrew on a helo, where I'm pretty sure the aircrew on a Blackhawk does not need to be a search and rescue swimmer. Just a wild thought. Like, yeah.
And that's why some German places in Germany, for example, and also France and Italy, they're now changing their helicopters where they're getting rid of the tail rotor and bringing in the turbine rotor. So, they only have to worry about the main rotor when they land. So it's yeah, I mean, this whole thing is very interesting. So what do you think, Squid?
Life is this is going to get a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting. And it's one of those situations where we're going to get more technical and we're going to get more confused before we, it's going to get easier. I don't know how to make that make sense. It's going to get harder before it gets easier.
Yeah.
You're going to get way more confused before you start making sense.
Yeah, and the thing is, things will start falling into place if you pay attention to what they're saying. I mean, if they're reading out the operational whatever limits of a PTOT, that listen to it, fine, but listen to what they've just said. Like that guy there, he actually turned around and said, well, in fact, on your presentation, it wasn't a Blackhawk, it was a Sikorsky, which is a complete different setup. So you need to pay attention to that stuff. But it will get easier. I mean, I'm understanding most of it.
Yeah, it's going to get confusing. And some of the things, like, I just can't sit and explain everything. One, because of skill fade. And two, F-16s, as far as I know, don't have a Navy variant. I've never seen one. It's 14s have Navy, but no Air Force. Air Force had the 15s and 16s. Navy has 14s, had 14s and 18s. And now and Air Force has 22s. And now everybody has 35s. Along with the Growler, Navy has Growlers, which is there's a whole nother can of frickin' worms with that one. Oh, it is one of those situations where life just got confusing with every aircraft that they don't have. And like, we used to have the S3B Viking. They don't, that plane no longer exists. That's now the E2D helicopter instead of the E2C. Like, shit just gets weird.
Yeah, and plus the Marines used to use the Cobra, but they also now use the Apache longbow. I don't think it's a longbow version, but they used the Kiowa as well. I mean, there's a lot of aircraft that have been used by different arms, but at the end of the day, the Blackhawk is used by quite a lot of, like the Navy, Army, and Air Force. So they are used across the board.
Yeah, it just same, like AP said earlier, same airframe, different variations of same aircraft. Exactly, yeah. And countries vary too. Like this, you will have the same countries having like the same kind of aircraft, but they have completely different setups. They're meant for different purposes. And then also you'll have freaking different countries. Like France has oh crap, I can't remember what they had, but one of their fighter jets landed on our carrier one time, and it was like I had never seen anything that looked like that in my entire life, and it was cool. It was cool as hell.
Mirage, Typhoon.
No, I don't remember what it was. It was just a run-of-the-mill fighter jet, probably the most common fighter jet they had at the time. But it was something that we, it was something that we don't have. So I took a picture of it, but I don't remember where those pictures are at this particular point in time. But we will probably go for another like 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will call it a day on this one. Because the thing about this is these are very technical, and you can only listen to so much technicality in one day before you're like, huh?
And by the way, my queen says hello to you, Squid.
Hello, how are you?
She's back.
Tell you old me I was a door gunner on a Huey. Oy.
That's what I was just about to say, that even like a lot of people need to remember that some of these airframes or aircraft were designed in the 60s and 70s and came out in the 60s and 70s. It's for the perfect example. I think it was the end of the 60s when the Huey came out, and the Huey has been, it's, you know, some of the Hueys that I have seen today, it's like they've taken a Merlin Stallion and then they've pushed a Huey and some other aircraft into the back of a Stallion, and they've had a bit of like, hello, who's your daddy? And then they gave birth to different variations of Hueys. You know, even though that flight platform is one hell of, you know, I mean, it's iconic. It's got a really good lift capacity. It can carry up to, I think, 16 troops, I believe. You know, but the Navy's got their variations, the Army's got their variations, and the Air Force have got their variations. So the Blackhawk itself has also various different variations. I mean, one of those variations was used in Afghanistan to find Mr. What was he called? Bin Laden, old chap there. And they were apparently stealth Blackhawks. You know, even though they crashed one of them, but that's by and by. But the fact of the matter is if you're not used to those aircraft, or if you haven't sat in them, like I can put my hand up and say, yeah, I've sat in some aircraft and I've flown around in them. You know, but there are people out there who are subject experts about these aircraft, and this technical jargon that's being said, even I am a little bit going, oof, okay, that's a bit too much. But the more you listen to it, the more we listen and we learn from it, that means we can then get an idea of what exactly happened, because we've already come to the conclusion that you had 3 different systems given 3 different indications, right? In a helicopter and in a plane, it had 3 systems, but all those 3 systems were fairly close on top of each other.
10 to 20 feet variance, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly.
Yeah,
but 10 to 20 feet, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge variance.
Yeah, but my problem is this: why was she ascending when she should have been descending?
There's
that, you know, because it's starting. I mean, from what we discussed months ago or a few months ago, now listening to this and me looking at some of the documentation, I'm like going, "Oh shit, this is going to be bigger than we thought."
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to watch this, considering we read the preliminary report, and it was like, we had questions on it. And when I saw this, I'm like, I have to watch this. Like, I have to watch this. And if I'm going to watch this, I have to drag you along for this ride.
Mama,
like,
help.
Whether it's tying you to the back of the car, kicking and screaming. Like,
which I mean, it's very interesting for me. I mean, I don't want to sound cruel or anything towards the unfortunate loss in this situation, but I'm finding this very interesting because now we're going to hear if what we preliminarily stated in our first streams about this, to see if we were right, if that our premonitions or our insight was on the dot. Because you've got the discrepancies. 1 minute they're on 1, and then they want to go and land on 3-3. You've got an aircraft flying coming towards them, but then suddenly in the preliminary report you've got a certain height, and here they're saying that she was climbing and then coming back down.
And I'm still completely in the realm of, I believe at the end of the day, and this is my prediction after everything, at the end of the day, it was her fault. Why it was her fault remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
However, this also, in the event that it was her fault, it was like the perfect storm, because if they would have never changed runways, even though obviously they had to change runways for a reason, they didn't just voluntarily just go, hey, we're going to land on a different runway. It was like the absolute perfect, like, final destination kind of moment.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, to change your runway, don't you have to? I mean, it was like, yeah, change it. Fuck it. Why not? Yeah, you can land on 3-3.
No, yeah, it was the airport that changed it was air traffic control that changed their runway, not the plane. The plane never goes, oh yeah, we're going to land here instead. No, the airport goes, hey, we have an issue on this, or this plane is not out of the way yet. You need to, change your runway, or we need to divert you to this runway, which happens all the time. It's not, you've probably been diverted on a runway 75% of the time you've flown and not even realized it. Because
but there's a difference when the ATC or divert you to a different runway. They have a reason for that. Either they've got like a high influx of planes coming in, like they said, they showed that picture where you can see the flight paths of the incoming aircraft.
Yeah.
So probably they went, right, okay, we need to put a gap in between that aircraft, that CRJ, and the aircraft coming in. So let's just get them over to that way. So that means we now got a little bit more space in between the aircraft, because it is, if I can remember correctly, it should be a 45-second gap between each aircraft, and they have to come at a certain speed. And I don't know. That's on the finals anyway.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that the vast majority of people who have flown have been diverted to a different runway and not even realized it. Because at the end of the generally, when everybody does their job correctly, there's never an issue. Just like the plane in North Dakota or wherever that was that got diverted and flew around and freaked out because it was almost going to collide with the B-52. If the pilot wouldn't have freaked out and would have just done his job and diverted like he was supposed to, I believe that there would not have been an issue. But he freaked out, and he looked. It sounded like he had a mini panic attack from what I'm reading. Be it, I'm not diagnosing. That's just like, when you freak out and you do things that you normally wouldn't do if you were calm and controlled. You know how many times the average plane has been diverted and had to fly around without even realizing it, because you're on a plane, you're going to an airport with only one runway and there's still something on the runway, so you have to do a flyover. You've probably been diverted like that too. You just haven't realized it because your pilot doesn't freak out.
But here comes my devil's advocate thing. I'm going to throw the proverbial spanner in your engine on this one. If a B-52 is flying and that aircraft is flying, why did they not get different directions of flight path so they could actually avoid each other? Why did the ATC allow that to happen in the first place? I mean, if a pilot gets told, right, I want you to turn left, that's to 190 degrees, or I want you to turn right to 270 degrees and flight path at 300, whatever, right? They're supposed to repeat that and then do that. Now, my argument is this. ATC is in contact with both of those aircraft. Those aircraft should have not gone anywhere near each other. They should have been diverted or given a different direction so they could avoid each other and then sort of come around and then bring them back around. But,
I agree. But I agree that there was a breakdown in air traffic control as well, and we're getting on a different topic, but
Yeah,
it's one of the things of people, when people do their job as they're supposed to, and people are trained and people don't freak out and everybody does their job. These things happen on a normal basis and you don't even realize it because people are doing their jobs. It's when people don't do their jobs that it's like, oh my God, this plane has to divert. It's like, no, this plane always has to divert, but you don't realize it because everybody is trained and it doesn't make news.
I just think these problems are happening way too much. Way too much. These incidents that happen way too much.
Hey, Squaw Bob, I'd trust Baby Squid to fly me anywhere. I don't know about that.
No, I actually agree. I'm sorry, but I actually agree. I totally agree. If Baby Squid is the pilot, I'm getting in that aircraft. I am getting in seat 1A, and I'm sitting there because I know I'll be safe.
If it's a 380, I'm getting in seat 11A because that's the only one. That's the only way I'll survive.
I'll get yeah.
and once again, making fun and like laughing about certain things is a way for us to not go absolutely batshit crazy, but we are respectful of the fact that a lot of these incidents that we talk about, people have lost their lives. This is not a funny thing, but sometimes when you're talking about very serious crap, you're talking about very technical crap, you just have to make light of situations in order to not go batshit fucking crazy. Because we all know what happens when you go batshit fucking crazy on the internet. See certain creators for details.
Yeah, especially on X. Oops.
or not on X.
Or not, no.
No, but you've all seen, like, there are people who used to stream all the time, and I am not naming names because I really did like this person a lot when I first when I first started watching them. This was back during the Johnny Depp trial. But this person made the mistake of drinking on streams and then made a fool of themselves and is no longer streaming and is no longer on the internet at all. So this person is no longer a YouTuber at all. And it's like, so there's a reason, like I had a beer on stream the other day, but you know what? Guess what? I didn't even finish that beer on a stream and I was streaming for an hour and a half and I didn't even.
I'm telling.
My dad got me a 6-pack of Spotted Cow. It's
What's it called?
Spotted Cow. You can only buy it in Wisconsin. It's illegal to sell it outside of the state of Wisconsin.
Spotted Cow.
Spotted Cow. And it's my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite because it tastes great or if it's my favorite because I can't buy it outside of Wisconsin. So
it's probably both.
I did not. I still have the 717. So I ordered, Jeffrey sent me a link to order a replacement CRJ because I've been looking for it ever since Baby Squid broke this one because this is my mom's jet actually. And and I ordered it and they sent me, even though in the tracking order they said CRJ 200, Midwest Airlines, they sent me a 717. My mom already has a 717 in an MD-80. And I'm like, do I just keep it or do I send it back and try to get another one? Or do I just wait? Or yeah. No, you can transport it outside the state. You just can't sell it outside the state. So if I bought a bunch, gave it to a liquor store here and that liquor store sold it, that would be illegal. But like my dad buying it in the state and bringing it to me, that's not illegal. Yeah. You know, AP, you know who I'm talking about. And I really did like her too.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you could always turn around to your mum and say, hey, look, mum, 2 CRJs, right, booked a hotel room in a hangar, and this is what came out 2 months later. So there you go.
You know how much I freaked out after
you did.
Broke that. I freaked out for like days.
What are we going to do? You
I've
had
never
me
been
do
scared.
research.
I've never been scared to tell my mother anything. And I'm like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? I have the pieces and I have plastic glue, so I can put it together. I
Oh,
just haven't.
we just gave ourselves away. You'll Mama Squid's going to watch this, and we're both. Oh shit!
Oh, she knows it's broken. I told her. She's not mad at me.
Oh, okay.
I was freaking out that she was going to be, because the last thing she told me before she gave it to me was, please don't break it. And then it's non-flyable.
I'm not saying a word. I need a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I'm surprised you haven't fixed that. It's probably the easiest fix ever. And
Not really. The pieces are really small and I'm shaky.
well, fucking put it in a post. I'll send it to you. It'll arrive here in more pieces.
All right, guys. I think actually this is where we are going to call it a day.
Yep.
Because we kind of have reached a drinking point. Whew, yeah, we have reached a drinking point. We've reached kind of a stopping point as far as like we've been away from it for about 20 minutes and there's no going back. We've derailed ourselves to the point where I think it's time to call it a day. But we will get back to it. I might do it maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. We'll keep covering it a little by little.
I think we should do it next Wednesday. I think we should do it next Wednesday, because that will give us enough time to sit down and do a conflab on the document, go through some of the stuff, so we're a little bit better prepared. Because
oh yes, and I do have the this is the docket for the, and we'll do this. Let's see if you transfer with me, because I've only done this. Oh nope. You didn't come with me. There we go.
There you go.
They do have the docket that they made public yesterday morning, public release date 7:39 a.m. So this is all the stuff that they see. If this was just me, there wouldn't be nearly as many stoppages, because we wouldn't have things to discuss, because it's just me. I would give you my opinion and then start it back up again. But with Spawn here, we
don't you blame me.
No, we discuss stuff, because that's what we do.
Sorry. Yeah. No, but
it just takes a little bit longer to get through stuff.
No, but I've already had a look at there's documents like over 1,800, 2,000 pages, and it's gonna take forever.
Yeah, but guess what? We have content for days.
Well, you've got content for days.
I
just got
for days.
Nervous breakdown for days.
Well, yeah.
Someone send me medication.
but literally, like, I didn't realize that they were going to release the whole docket, which means we got content for days.
I would say like it's going to probably take us
months.
No, quite a couple of months to go through this, if we did this per document. But the problem is there's documents there with like over 1,300 pages, and we lose people by the second page. So, it's going to be we need to keep on record, keep on the same road, but just sort of like bring it down to understandable, comprehensible sort of information. Because like if we start going through, all right, this is what the PTOT does, this is what this does, that's what that, people are just going to go. We should look at the CCAT, the TCAS. We should look at the ADS. We should look at like, any type of communication between the aircrafts. We need to look at, the exterior lighting. We don't really have to go through that because all aircraft have their port and starboard, lights and stuff.
Yeah. It's
I will take it under advisement.
We got time. I mean, we got stuff. If you ever want to just like record a video too, we can do that.
I think that would be a better thing for topics that I think that are pointless doing on a live, because we'll just drag it out.
Yeah.
If it's like for half an hour or 45 minutes discussion, then let's just do a video. Let's talk about it, put up the screenshots and go bang, 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 bang. The beginning, the middle, the end. Have a good day.
Wait, what happened? What happened, Joe? You're not stupid. What happened? Why'd you call yourself stupid? Like, you're not stupid. It's just, this is a very technical topic. Like, talking about pedo tubes is a very, like, if you don't know what a pedo tube is, like, it's not that you're stupid. It's just that you've never heard what a pedo tube is. Like, like, it's just a very technical topic. And it's one of those things of, like, I know what it is because I worked, like, I've touched a pedo tube before. Like, you know. I've had to adjust it before. Like, I would never replaced it. It wasn't my area of expertise on the plane. Like, it wasn't my problem. It was an AE problem. I was an AT. It wasn't my equipment to work on. But, you know, when they needed it adjusted, this was the symbol for adjusting it, and you'd go and adjust it. I knew how. It was over my head. I had to reach, but, you know, yeah. What girl, me? I'm at the knowledge bottom. We can do this together. And that's why we're taking it little by little. And I'm not sitting here and watching it all day with you guys, because it's one of those things of, like, it's like sitting in college. It's like sitting in class. We're here to have discussions, and, like, we're here to sit and have discussions on why we think things happened and what can do better and what we think the credibility of these witnesses and stuff are, and not make it like a college class. So yes, I will take a little time to explain things. Spawn will take time to explain things from his perspective, but I'm not your professor. Like, we're not going to sit here and lecture you. So this is not, I'm not dumbing it down for anybody. We're just not diving into a tech manual. I did that. Yeah, I did that when I was serving, and I had to take people through. Absolutely not. I didn't swear there. No, absolutely not. No way on this planet am I going to do that. I don't get paid to do that anymore, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah, and some of these I might actually post on my Twitter. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, you might want to, because, like, the witness list is just a picture. Like, it's just a PDF of the witness list. So I might actually post a link to this on my, you know, it's just got the people who are going to be safety data and management systems. These are all the people who are going to be testifying.
Tammy, no, I don't have you blocked, because if I had you blocked, I wouldn't be able to see you typing in chat, my darling. So, no, I don't have you blocked, my sweetheart. I don't know what is going on. I mean, I can check later on, but just for the record, if I have you blocked, or I don't have you coming in my stream, or you or anyone else for that matter, all right, there must have been a reason that happened quite a while back. So I'll dig into it and I'll have a look what's going on. But you're not blocked, my darling. I can see you typing. So, and I've seen you in other chats, and I've seen you type, and I've even said hello to you on a couple of occasions. So there's no negativity or no issues. So don't be worried.
Oh, she says it won't let her see it. It won't let her. It won't let her type in your chat. Like, she wants to say hi in your chat. Yeah. Oh, not you personally blocking her, but you might have her.
Okay.
Ban, like, I don't know. Tammy, all I know is back in the thing, back in, like, January, when shit went to a crazy level very quickly, a lot of people just got, like,
yeeted.
For reasons and some for other reasons, and some of them might have been accurate yeetings and some of them might not have been. But so we'll check. I won't check. I can't check. It's not my channel. So,
and with respect, guys, please don't sit here in Squid's chat and try to tell me what to do on my platform. I get it. I understand it. I respect it. But please, you just calm it down a little bit. Thank you.
So we will start going through this stuff on the one at a time. Like I'll look at what they are first, and then if it's like a 5-page, the shorter ones that we think we can discuss and knock out in a few minutes, we'll record videos and probably upload some on mine and probably upload some on his because we'll we'll figure that out. So. But I enjoy doing this with you because you bring up, the reason that I started, for people that wonder why Spawn started doing this stuff with me in the first place, is because he mentioned some of these incidents on his channel. And when I was going to start talking about them and I wanted to bounce ideas off of somebody, I bounced ideas off of somebody who was already discussing it on their channel. So I figured, why the hell not talk about it with someone who was already talking about it on their channel? And then it just kind of became a regular thing. So
and also it wasn't just that, it's because it was the perfect match. We're both veterans. We both have a basic knowledge. Well, Squid's got more knowledge than I have, but we both have, the background, the military background to go, okay, and then that's fishy because. No disrespect to some of you guys, who've never served or you don't work in that industry, but we sort of like catch the. How can I put this? We catch the inconsistencies a little bit quicker than ever because we can go through the terminology way quicker.
Well, and I also come from an aviation family. My dad was into aviation when I was younger from a enthusiast and civilian and building like models perspective. Like I built model rockets as a kid. He had a RC helicopter when I was little. My mom worked for an airline. I worked for a civilian airline. I was military aviation. I was avionics. I met Mr. Squid working on airplanes. He built boom booms. He built things that went boom. He didn't build the things. He loaded them onto aircraft and worked with the systems that dropped them from aircraft and they went boom boom on people. Then he went to college for aviation. Now he works in he's a civilian. He's worked in aviation for 20 years. Like my background and my family perspective are from all sides of aviation, whether it's the civilian side. I know pilots, flight attendants, gate agents. I was ramp, avionics. He's AMP. He's got that aeronautical engineering degree. His best friend worked on helos in the Marine Corps. Like my friends and family all have little snippets of. He doesn't call himself an expert, but he's an expert. Don't let him like he and Spawn were talking one time and Spawn was asking him questions and he just started blah, 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 blah. This is the man that doesn't talk about shit, but you get him on aviation and a subject that he's very interested in and he will talk your ear off. I love it. However,
I enjoyed that conversation. I tell you, I really enjoyed that conversation.
But he will tell you that he's not an expert. He is full of it. He is like, I throw the BS flag on that one. Yeah. Sexy boom boom aviation expert guru, Mr. Squid. Yes, pretty much. So I will refer to certain aspects, but there is a picture of a certain picture that because you never see his face. You never see his face in these pictures. So. But I have a far off in the distant standing next to his aircraft that I took. I took a picture of him on the flight deck. He doesn't know about it. Don't tell him.
Do you know? I think I've got a couple. Funny you say that. I think I've got a couple of pictures where I sat. I got a few from when I sat in the back of a freaking Chinook. I've got one or two that when I was on a Lynx. And then when I was on the Merlin, but I was only on the Merlin for 20 minutes, and then they kicked us all out.
Oh wait, I don't have the picture that I took. I think I deleted that. If not, well, I guess I don't have that.
And there's no longer the Puma. The Puma has been retired. I'm so sad.
Your cousin is a Gulfstream master mechanic. I can rub my belly and pat my head in multiple directions. Where at? What state?
In an airport, in a hangar.
They have multiple locations. Hey, sweet fly. Flying in to say hi and hit the like button. How are you feeling? I'm going to follow this case. I find it very interesting. My daughter and son-in-law were in Naval Squadron on Whidbey Island. They deployed on a carrier, USS Ronald Reagan. I was on a squadron in Virginia, and I was not on the Reagan. The Reagan is too new. I was on a carrier that no longer exists. My carrier is decommissioned. I was on the Enterprise, also known as the Enterprison, cell block 65.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the United States aircraft carrier Enterprise, where she will or will not sink. And you know that they call a vessel or ships she instead of he?
Yeah, and they call them boats and not ships. Call an aircraft carrier a ship. People are going to look at you like you're weird.
Ship. It's a
I
submarine.
look at you like you're weird anyway.
Oof, in the heart. Short ass. What?
Oh. Right outside Seattle. Oh, he's where all the crazy people are. Oh, they're suing the Blue Angels.
There's quite a few of them. Do you know what? Now there's a little bit more space on X. I think I'm going to start sort of posting on X now.
Jesus.
No, me. I'll tell you one thing. You know why I'm like this right now is because I'm looking at that screenshot you got on your screen, and I'm like, I'm richly crying inside.
It's gonna be an interesting. Like I did not realize that they were going to post the they posted the docket until they said it.
205 documents, and some of them are over like 1,300 pages.
Yeah, this one, operations interview transcripts. So this one, the transcripts would be a good one to get like a couple of people together and actually read through and like do not dramatic readings, but like, you take this part, you take this part, you take this part, and actually go through and read.
Well, we got my pretty. We got you, me. We could ask Eric. We can ask a few people.
I can also ask the expert because he's read a few transcripts before. Next of kin interview. Helo crew next of kin interview transcripts.
I think we should avoid that one.
Well, individual training proficiency records.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
861 faculty DCA ATCT faculty logs, facility logs and records. If I can read.
But I need to shoot off.
Yep, and I have to. It's in my name what I was. I was an AT. So.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you very much for enjoying this stream with myself and Squid, the host. And see you on the next one. And Squid, thank you very much for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you aren't subscribed to Squid, why not? Go and subscribe. And give a good
I lost a subscriber during this.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Oh, bless them. But anyway, on that note, I am going to love you and leave you. So I wish you all a very good evening. And on that note, yeet.
Bye, guys. We will. I will get to some stuff. I still have to read the amended complaint from Jeremy that included Megan and Tug because I want to see what Megan and Tug had to say about what they want out of this whole situation. And I have some opinions on that. And I will read it. I just don't know when. Probably Friday. I'm kind of, Mr. Squid's off for the week, so I'm kind of having a day or a week where I'm just like taking it easy, spending time with the family. And next week things will get back to a little bit more normal. But I wanted to do this because these hearings are going on live, and I wanted to make sure that we started this today. And we tend to cancel sometimes when we get a little too what the hellsy and go off on tangents, that we skip our Aviation Wednesdays, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't do that this week. But all right, guys, I will see you on the next one. Probably tomorrow. We have some Sarah Boone updates. I still have to record some videos. I am just, it's a, what time Friday? Probably, I don't know. Well, like 11 or 12. It's all about what time the little and Mr. Squid do things, and when they start spending time together, and when they start doing things when she wants daddy's attention and daddy's attention only, is when I'm like, I'm going to schedule a live stream. So it's a crapshoot. But I plan on going to the gym at 7 a.m. Plus the kids around here started school this week. So it's just it's a wee. Everybody's back to work, and Mr. Squid's off this week. Oh, the man who never takes time off, taking time off, doesn't know what to do with his time. So it's a lot of fun. Bye, guys. I will see you on the next one. You have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye.